My sister and I are twins. A diviner declared that our destinies were in conflict, one noble, one base. To ensure a smooth life path, one of us must marry into a high station, and the other into a lowly one. In my past life, unable to bear the thought of my sister suffering, I willingly married a farmer, while she was wed to the heir of the Marquis of Dingyuan. Yet, the heir doted exclusively on his concubine, allowing my sister to be bullied and tormented to her death, carrying her unborn child to the grave. Not long after my sister's death, my husband also passed away from a broken heart. While sorting through his belongings, I discovered that my husband was actually the deceased eldest legitimate son of the Marquis's household, and the one he had truly loved all along was my sister. I kowtowed 100,000 times before their graves, finally earning heaven's pity and granting us a chance to live our lives anew. When I opened my eyes again, I snatched the engagement token from the Marquis's household right out of my sister's hand. Sister, you've always given in to me since we were children. Why not give up this marriage arrangement to me as well? A faint smile played on my lips as I fixed my gaze steadily upon her. The harrowing sight of her death in my past life was still vivid in my mind, and my eyes grew moist. My elder sister sighed, gently dabbing the tears from the corner of my eye with her handkerchief. All right, she said softly, we'll do as you wish. Sure. Ever since you were little, your sister has always protected you and given way to you. Her constitution is frail and she cannot bear such strain. Could you not just— Mother choked back a sob, her words trailing off into silence. My sister, however, offered a faint, unconcerned smile. Mother, please don't say any more. One of us sisters must have a good life. Sure has been clever since childhood. I believe she is far more suited than I to be the mistress of the Marquis household. I took a deep breath, swallowing down the hatred in my heart. Yes, that's exactly what I thought in my past life. So, without a second thought, I chose to marry the farmer, letting my elder sister become the noble Marquis's wife. Little did I know, I had personally delivered her into a den of wolves. Given a second chance at life, my only wish is for my sister to live in peace with the one she loves, growing old together side by side. As for that monstrous Marquis's manner and the overwhelming hatred, leave them all to me. I will personally seek justice for my sister who died in my past life. The marriages were thus settled. I would wed into the Marquis's household, and my sister would marry the farmer. The families exchanged the betrothal documents, finalizing the wedding date. My elder sister married first, and then it was my turn. That night, I knocked on my sister's door, holding a heavy chest in my arms. This is all the money I've saved over the years, along with some gold and silver jewelry. I'm giving it all to you. Afraid she might refuse, I quickly added, I'm marrying into the Marquis's household, where I'll want for nothing. But you, how will you manage without any money to your name? My sister wore the same gentle, smiling expression as always. She stroked my hair tenderly. Sure, you needn't worry about me. Father says Hechuan had some schooling before misfortune left him alone in the world. Once I marry him, I'll be mistress of my own home. I know you're not one to chase wealth and status. Sister, the Marquis's household is a grand, imposing place, surely full of schemes and intrigues. You're afraid I won't be able to handle it, aren't you? We're twins, born of the same mother. You can't hide your thoughts from me. Sure, I will build a good life with Hechuan, and you must promise me, promise your sister, that you will take good care of yourself, will you? Such a wonderful sister, so kind and gentle, was actually tormented to death by the people of the Marquis's household. My throat tightened with emotion several times, and in the end, I threw myself into my sister's arms and wept uncontrollably. On the day my sister was married, I saw Hechuan, who had come to fetch the bride. Once again, unlike when he married me in my previous life, the joy on his face at this moment was unmistakably genuine. It was clear he truly adored my sister. Hechuan knelt before my father and mother, making a solemn vow, if I ever wrong you in this lifetime, may I die without a grave to bury me. My sister nervously twisted the embroidered handkerchief in her hands, while my father and mother nodded in approval. I felt a little dazed. A pang of heartache rose within me, but it soon gave way to acceptance. Hechuan truly is a good man. In our past life, even though he did not love me, he afforded me the utmost respect as his wife. Even on his deathbed, he did his utmost to secure my well-being for the decades to come. In this life, with Hechuan by my sister's side, my heart is at ease. I watched the wedding sedan chair fade into the distance, my gaze fixed on the direction of the Dingyuan Marquis estate. In 7 days, I shall be wed to Lu Wenjiao, the heir of the Dingyuan Marquis, with a bridal procession of the utmost splendor too. The wedding night, concubine Qiu, the one who holds the dearest place in Lu Wenjiao's heart, was already itching to put me in my place. Right after the wedding ceremony, Before the bride's veil was even lifted, her maid came over to summon him. Young master, the concubine is suffering from a severe pain in her chest. Please, you must go and see her at once. I sneered inwardly, just as I thought, such a cheap, underhanded trick. Lu Wenjiao ignored the wedding matron's attempts to stop him and rose to leave. Your Highness, please wait, I hurriedly called out to stop him. After a moment's thought, I simply tore off my own bridal veil myself and, under the astonished gazes of the onlookers, waved my hand to dismiss everyone. He stared at me with considerable surprise, his expression displeased. Shinro has always been frail, I must go and see her. Xiao Jinshu, as the principal wife, you should have the magnanimity to tolerate others, do not stoop to petty jealousy. I shook my head with a gentle smile, meeting his gaze. You misunderstand, my lord, I am well aware that your heart belongs solely to Lady Qiu. Even before entering the Marquis's household, I had resolved to fulfill my duties as your wife with diligence, without ever contending for your affection against her. I opened my dowry chest, retrieved a prescription, and handed it to him. I heard that Lady Qiu has long suffered from a heart condition. The physician of the Xiao household is particularly skilled in treating this ailment, so before my wedding, I specifically requested this prescription from him. If you trust it, my lord, you may have Lady Qiu follow this regimen. It should provide considerable relief from the chest pains and palpitations. Lu Wenjiao took the prescription from my hand and glanced at it, a hint of suspicion in his eyes. You would be so kind, hiding the hatred in my heart. I feigned a disbelieving laugh. Matters of the heart cannot be forced. The young master is a man of feeling and principle, a rare and devoted soul among men. Sure admires him. As soon as I finished speaking, a look of involuntary pleasure and approval flickered in his eyes. It's best that you think this way. If you know your place, I will do my best to treat you better in the future. Thank you, my lord. There is one more thing I must ask. After you have spent time with Auntie Qiu, would you be so kind as to return to the main courtyard for the night? Please do not misunderstand my intentions. It is just that tonight is, after all, our wedding night, and there are so many eyes in the household watching us. So I lowered my gaze, my words trailing off, allowing a perfectly measured hint of grievance to show. He understood immediately. Since I promised you the dignity befitting my principal wife, I am a man of my word. Rest assured, I will return no matter how late it is. After Lu Wenjiao left, I instantly let the smile fade from my face and instructed my maid to remove my hairpins and ornaments so I could wash and change. Just after the hour of Z, he indeed returned to the main courtyard. I led him to the prepared daybed. Please bear with this humble arrangement for tonight, young master. After this night, you may rest in Auntie Qiu's courtyard. I will handle matters with your parents. Lu Wenjiao gave me a meaningful glance. I understood his disbelief but pretended not to notice, turning back to retire to my bed. As I run my hand over this bed beneath me, I can almost feel the sorrow and despair my sister once felt lying here in my past life. Lu Wenjiao was also summoned away by concubine Qiu on their wedding night, leaving my sister alone in the bridal chamber. The very next day, the dowager of the Marquis' estate had my sister kneel in the ancestral hall for a full day and night, punishing her for failing to guide her husband properly. The servants in the household, ever quick to follow the prevailing wind, saw that the masters held my sister in low regard. They obeyed concubine Qiu's every word, making her life difficult at every turn. The wheel of fortune has turned in this life, and now it's Aunt Qiu who's left alone in an empty chamber. I'm quite looking forward to seeing how she'll continue to play out this act. 3. I rose very early the next morning. The maids bustled about in an orderly fashion, helping me change into my dress and arranging my hair into a married woman's coiffure. After finishing my makeup, I stood up and met Lu Wenjiao's gaze directly. A flash of admiration appeared in his eyes. Sensing it, my cheeks flushed slightly as I lowered my head with a shy smile. My dear husband, let us go together to serve tea to your parents. The current Marchioness of Dingyuan, Lady Chen, is Lu Wenjiao's birth mother, who was elevated from concubine to principal wife. It is said that the previous Marchioness met with a tragic accident while traveling with her son to visit relatives, and both mother and child perished. But with the knowledge from my past life, I know they were deliberately murdered by the very woman who holds the title now, and Yichuan is that deceased legitimate eldest son of the Marquis of Dingyuan's household. After tumbling down the cliff, he lost his memory. By the time he remembered his true identity, he was already on his deathbed. Lu Wenjiao and I knelt respectfully on the ground, offering tea to the Marquis and the Marchioness. To my surprise, Madame Chen wore a rare, pleasant expression. She even took the bracelet from her own wrist and personally placed it on mine. Lu Wenjiao raised an eyebrow in disbelief, but I knew all too well that Madame Chen had long held a grudge against concubine Qiu, having schemed so hard to secure her position as the marquise. She would never allow her son to spend all his time fooling around with a concubine. Marrying a daughter from a prominent family was paramount, someone who could rein in Lu Wenjiao and help him solidify his position as the heir. I presented the gifts I had prepared in advance one by one. The main hall was filled with cheerful laughter, creating a warm and harmonious atmosphere. After we had breakfast together, Lu Wenjiao went to his study to attend to official matters, while Lady Chen kept me in the hall to talk. At that very moment, a servant announced that concubine Qiu requested an audience. She was dressed in plain white garments, her hair simply styled in a low-hanging cloud-like bun, adorned with a single white jade hairpin. Her figure was slender and delicate, and her movements were as graceful as a willow branch swaying in a gentle breeze. When she lifted her head, one could see her fair complexion, her eyebrows like distant mountain peaks, and eyes that held the limpid depth of autumn waters. She truly is a bewitching creature. Madame Chen looked displeased and did not bid her to rise, only ordering her to kowtow and pay her respects to me, the principal wife. Concubine Qiu's eyes welled up with tears as she made a deep, graceful bow to me. This humble concubine pays her respects to the madam. Last night, I was suddenly taken ill with a heart condition. The servants, lacking sense, took it upon themselves to summon the young master, thus disrupting his and your ladyship's wedding night. I begged the madam not to hold it against me. My brow furrowed, and sure enough, I saw Madame Chen's expression darken. I quickly lowered my head to hide the mockery in my eyes. You jest, auntie. Although the young master arrived rather late last night, he did not, in the end, neglect his marital duties. Aunt Qiu stiffened, letting out a sharp cry. Impossible. The young master clearly said he would not touch you. What a fool. I offered a shy smile, a delicate blush coloring my cheeks. Please, auntie, do not jest. I am the legitimate wife of the heir. Why would he refuse to touch me? The heir is gentle and considerate. This morning, he even personally drew my eyebrows and urged me to bear him a legitimate son soon, to carry on the family line of the marquisate. Lady Chen snorted coldly. Qiu Xinro, I think you have lost your mind. Do you truly expect my son to be faithful to you, and you alone, for the rest of his life? You are nothing but a lowly concubine, unworthy of the main hall. Do not entertain such improper thoughts. With tears brimming in her eyes, Aunt Qiu left in tears. Seizing on this pretext, Mrs. Chen proceeded to give me a thorough scolding. I adopted a submissive attitude, lowering my head and eyes, and meekly agreed to everything. Only after Mrs. Chen had fully played the part of the domineering mother-in-law did she let me go, thoroughly satisfied. No sooner had I returned to the main courtyard than Lu Wenjiao stormed in, ready to demand an explanation. Xiao Jinshu, what about the promise you made to me last night? What nonsense have you been spouting to Xinro today? When have I ever laid a hand on you? The moment Lu Wenjiao stepped through the door, he kicked over the stool by the entrance and slapped me hard across the face. How can you be so malicious? I must have been out of my mind to believe your endless lies, giving you the chance to bully Xinro. I covered my face, took a deep breath, and when I looked up again, my eyes were rimmed red and brimming with tears. Your Highness, I, Xiao Jinshu, am absolutely not that kind of person. Why did you condemn me without even hearing a single word of explanation? Is it because I am not the one you hold dear that I can be slandered and maligned at will? Tears fell in a steady stream. I stubbornly lifted my head, revealing the swollen, reddened side of my face from his blows, along with a stretch of pale, vulnerable neck. This sight caught Lu Wenjiao's eye. His gaze faltered, softening almost instantly. Then speak. I will hear what reason you could possibly have. For I dabbed the tears from the corner of my eye with a handkerchief, my voice choked with emotion. My lord, you only know that I lied to Auntie Qiu, but you do not know why I had to say what I did. The agreement between you and me, my lord, must remain our secret. It must never reach your mother's ears. If she were to find out, not only would my every step within this household become difficult, but you and your aunt would also not escape punishment. Yet, your aunt deliberately revealed the fact that we have not consummated our marriage in front of your mother. Perhaps her intention was merely to shame me, but have you considered, my lord, the consequences of her actions? What else could I have said? Was I supposed to admit to my mother-in-law that I was still a virgin? My voice grew hoarse with emotion, and tears began to fall once more. The scalding hot tears fell one by one onto Lu Wenjiao's palm, causing his fingers to flinch involuntarily. I fell silent, biting my lip tightly. The atmosphere in the room grew tense. After what Felt like an eternity. Lu Wenjiao let out a sigh and took my hand. I'm sorry, I wronged you. This matter is truly my fault, and I've let you suffer unjustly. My tears fell even harder. My lord, I am but an ordinary woman. I, too, long for a loving marriage that lasts a lifetime. It's a pity that neither of us can control our own fate. I know your heart belongs to Lady Chiu. I have no wish to make you a faithless man and am willing to step aside for you both. However, you should still afford me a basic level of respect and not be so quick to doubt me. Rest assured, I promise this is the last time. It will not happen again. Lu Wenjiao offered me his silk handkerchief. After a moment's hesitation, I accepted it, turned away, and wiped my tears. I could feel his intense gaze on my back, and a faint smile touched my lips. Trust is built over time, but it can be shattered in an instant. Once a crack appears, it can lead to a catastrophic collapse, just as a tiny ant hole can breach a great dike. This performance was not in vain. On the day of the bride's return visit, Aunt Chiu attempted to pull the same old trick again. When the maid came to the main courtyard to report, Lu Wenjiao thought for a moment before sending her away. Have the house physician go and see her first. Tell your mistress that I will visit her after I accompany my wife on her return visit to her family. I seized the moment to give him a grateful look, and a smug smile appeared at the corner of Lu Wenjiao's mouth. Soon, concubine Chiu was horrified to discover that her most tried and true methods were no longer working. Lu Wenjiao treated her just as kindly as before, but he no longer obeyed her every word like he used to. She rose from a tea-serving girl at a roadside stall to become the beloved concubine of the Marquis' heir. One can only imagine the amount of scheming and maneuvering it took to get there. She would never allow anyone to threaten her position. That day, as I was playing chess with Lu Wenjiao in my chamber, a servant suddenly rushed in to report, "Young master, concubine Chiu has been poisoned." With a clatter, Lu Wenjiao overturned the chessboard and dashed away. I followed closely behind Lu Wenjiao and arrived at concubine Chiu's courtyard. He was holding concubine Chiu in his arms, berating the house physician and the maidservants in a stern voice. "You truly seem deeply concerned, young master. Poison was slipped into the concubine's medicinal brew. Fortunately, she did not consume much, or not even the greatest immortal could have saved her." Concubine Chiu, clinging limply to Lu Wenjiao's arm, burst into tears upon hearing this. "Young master, your wife's heart is truly vicious. Just because you show me a little more favor, she actually seeks my life." I gave a sardonic smile and stood my ground without uttering a word. Lu Wenjiao, however, denied it reflexively. "Shinro, the mistress would never do such a thing. There must be some mistake." Aunt Chiu was taken aback that he would speak up for me. She froze for a moment, her expression nearly crumbling. "Don't you believe me, young master? Today, the mistress specifically sent me medicine, claiming it was a miracle cure for my heart condition. I took but 2 sips before the poisoning began." She sobbed uncontrollably, gasping for breath. "The young master and I have shared a deep bond for years. Surely, madam cannot bear to see him dote on me so, which is why she finds me intolerable. Such a clumsy, transparent ploy. It actually made me laugh." She was dead set on pinning the label of a jealous shrew on me, completely oblivious to Lu Wenjiao's darkening expression, because that bowl of medicine was delivered by the maid from my own courtyard, on his orders. 5. I have no qualms about fanning these flames even higher, so I began, my voice thick with indignation. "Auntie Chiu, do you take me for a fool? If I truly wished to harm you, would I be so idiotic as to poison the very medicine I sent? Moreover, when have I ever dispatched anyone to deliver medicine to you? All matters concerning your meals and medical care are handled within your own courtyard. I have never interfered." "Madam, your denial is useless. It was a maid from your own courtyard who delivered the medicine with her own hands." Aunt Chiu spoke with vehement urgency, as if she could hardly wait to have me convicted on the spot. But when her gaze shifted back to Lu Wenjiao, her entire body froze. Lu Wenjiao was looking at her with an expression of profound disappointment and sorrow, remaining silent for a long while. "Why, young master?" Lu Wenjiao spoke slowly. "Shinro, the medicine you drank today, I was the one who had it sent to you." Aunt Chiu's eyes suddenly widened, her mind going completely blank. "On our wedding day, the madam gave me a prescription for treating heart ailments. The medicine today was prepared according to that very prescription, on my orders." It was as if Aunt Chiu had regained her ability to speak. "The prescription must be faulty, my lord. How could she possibly be so kind-hearted?" Lu Wenjiao gave a mocking smile, the disappointment in his eyes deepening. "At first, I thought the same as you. That's why I specifically had someone examine it. This prescription is indeed remarkably effective for treating heart ailments. I had the medicine prepared and sent it to you in my wife's name. hoping to ease the tension between the two of you. Shinro, tell me, why was there poison in the medicine I ordered to be sent to you? Surely you're not going to suggest that I wanted to poison you. Aunt Chio's face was deathly pale, her lips slightly parted, yet no sound escaped her. Lu Wenjiao's gaze darkened, a trace of self-mockery coloring his eyes as he slowly released Aunt Chio's hand. Shinro, you've changed. You were once such a kind and resilient woman. For now, stay within your own courtyard and do not venture out. Come find me again once you've had time to think things through. I watched the two of them coldly, a flicker of grim satisfaction passing through my heart. In her past life, my sister returned to the Xiao residence to obtain this prescription in an attempt to curry favor with concubine Qiao, yet, concubine Qiao used the same tactic to falsely accuse her of plotting to harm a fellow concubine. Enraged, Lu Wenjiao ordered her to be given 20 strokes of the cane and confined to the courtyard. My sister was already frail, and after this ordeal, she became bedridden and suffered immensely. In this life, starting from that prescription on our wedding night, I had long since set this scheme in motion. The news of Auntie Chio's house arrest swiftly spread throughout the entire Marquise estate. The servants were filled with trepidation, and their attitude towards the main household became increasingly attentive. Upon learning of this, Madame Chen flew into a rage and punished Auntie Chio by making her kneel in the ancestral hall for half a month. She then summoned me and lectured me at length, urging me to bear a child for Lu Wenjiao as soon as possible. Seizing the opportunity, I suggested assigning the two maidservants from the main courtyard to Lu Wenjiao as concubines. Amber was pure and innocent, while Crystal was delicate and frail. Having served in the household for so long, they naturally knew exactly what kind of demeanor Lu Wenjiao favored most. He was angry with me at first for acting on my own, but he soon lost himself completely in the lap of luxury. By the time Aunt Chio's confinement was lifted and she was allowed out of her courtyard, Amber was already with child. Aunt Chio smashed her own courtyard to pieces, and only afterwards did she finally realize that times had changed. She humbled herself once more to win Lu Wenjiao's favor, and even made a grand show of coming to the main courtyard to kowtow and apologize to me. It turned out Lu Wenjiao still had feelings for her, and before long, he was spending his nights in concubine Chio's quarters again. For a time, concubine Chio became the undisputed center of attention within the household. Not long after, a servant came to report that she was with child. My heart skipped a beat when I heard the news. After all, in my past life, Auntie Chio had never been with child. I had thought she was. I sent someone to investigate thoroughly, and the news I received made me clap my hands in delight. I'm going to see for myself just what kind of child concubine Chio is carrying in her belly, and what exactly she ends up giving birth to. 6 With 2 concubines in the rear courtyard pregnant at the same time, Lu Wenjiao was overjoyed. Even the Marquis's wife, Lady Chen, was very pleased with me. She bestowed many fine gifts and instructed me to ensure the well-being of the children in both their wombs. When Amber was 6 months pregnant, the household physician took her pulse and determined she was carrying a son. Lu Wenjiao was overjoyed. He ended up spending more than half of the next 10 nights in her courtyard. For concubine Chio, however, the news was a devastating blow. She had no choice but to move her plans forward. Beneath the Marquis' tranquil facade, undercurrents were stirring. Half a month later, it was the birthday of Lady Chen, the Marchioness of Dingyuan. She was always one for grand displays, and for such occasions, she would inevitably spare no expense. Following her wishes, I invited all the dignitaries in the capital to host a spectacularly lavish birthday banquet. At the banquet, both Aunt Chio, who was with child, and Amber received rewards from Lady Chen. Aunt Chio approached Amber with a wine cup in hand. Sister, let me toast you. You are soon to bear the heir's first son. Your future status will surely be extraordinary. Amber, having been spoiled beyond all reason these days, gave a smug, light snort at the words and took the cup, draining it in one gulp. I watched their exchange quietly, a cold smile playing on my lips. Soon, Amber coughed up a mouthful of black blood and collapsed to the ground, unconscious. Poisoned again. The same old story, but this time, Amber wasn't so fortunate. The child in her womb was just 8 months along, already fully formed. Fearing the poison in the mother's body would harm the child, Lu Wenjiao ultimately decided to force her to take labor-inducing medicine. Amber's agonized wails echoed through the entire rear courtyard, from heartrending shrieks to faint, dying moans. After a full day and night, she gave birth to a stillborn child and succumbed to the poison herself. I stood in the courtyard, listening to Lu Wenjiao's pained groans behind me, and smiled. In the previous life, after my sister was cast aside by Lu Wenjiao, Amber, and lapis lazuli wasted no time in climbing into his bed. Lapis lazuli was somewhat more restrained, content to simply enjoy her life of luxury, but Amber, when my sister was in the throes of a difficult childbirth, deliberately chose the most hurtful words to torment her. No matter how desperately my sister pleaded, she remained utterly unmoved. The baby was stuck at the cervix. In a frantic panic, the sister grabbed a pair of scissors and brutally cut open her own perineum. Amber never imagined her sister's will could be so strong. Even utterly exhausted, she clung to a last shred of strength, determined to deliver the child. In a sudden, vicious turn, she smothered her sister to death with a pillow. The sister died with her unborn child, never living to see the midwife, the doctor, or her own husband. The most despicable part is that Lu Wenjiao and Qiu Xinrou, to settle a bet on whether the sister's child was a boy or a girl, had her belly cut open for inspection after her death. Karma is a cycle. Each and every one of these acts is nothing less than their just retribution. Amber is dead. The Marquis's eldest grandson is gone. The maid who attended her insisted that Amber was poisoned after drinking the fruit wine offered by concubine Qiu. The absurd thing is, concubine Qiu had the gall to twist my own words against her, using the very argument I once made to refute her if I wanted to poison her. Why would I do it in front of everyone and even hand her the poisoned wine myself? However, it is clear that the circumstances of these two incidents are entirely different. The maid kowtowed twice, her head knocking heavily on the floor. Young master, please see the truth clearly. Ever since Our Lady became pregnant, she has been extremely cautious, with the lesson of Lady Qiu's poisoning fresh in our minds. My lady would never consume anything without me testing it for poison first. On the day of the banquet, I personally tested every single thing my lady ate for poison, except for that 1 cup of fruit wine. Yet, even at this point, Lady Qiu stubbornly refused to admit her guilt. She was certain that, with her pregnancy, Lu Wenjiao wouldn't dare lay a finger on her. Aunt Qiu still believed that after all this time, the utensils from the banquet would have long been washed and put away. But how could I possibly let her have her way? Young master, whether the poison was in the wine can be determined by the house physician. After Amber was poisoned that day, I immediately ordered all the bowls, chopsticks, and cups she used to be preserved exactly as they were. 7. The moment I finished speaking, Aunt Qiu's legs gave way beneath her, and she collapsed to the floor. She glared at me with pure hatred, her eyes wide with fury. Before long, the house physician detected a lethal poison at the bottom of the cup containing the fruit wine. Lu Wenjiao slowly rose from his seat at the head of the table. His face had turned ashen, his lips quivered, and his hands trembled. After what felt like an eternity, he lowered his head and looked at concubine Qiu with a gaze bordering on despair. Xinrou, I've always believed I treated you well. Why would you do this to me? That was my first child. Aunt Qiu shuddered from head to toe, as if plunged into an icy abyss, a chill seeping into her very bones. She smiled bitterly, tears streaming down her face. My lord, it's because Xinrou loves you. How could a woman who truly loves a man bear to watch him dote upon another and have children with her? Qiu Xinrou came from humble origins. Had she not shared a mutual affection with Lu Wenjiao, she would never have had the chance to witness the opulence of the Marquis's estate. Thus, in this life and the last, what she valued most was Lu Wenjiao's genuine heart and the position by his side. She collapsed to the ground, wailing with a heartrending cry, yet Lu Wenjiao remained utterly unmoved. He turned away, closed his eyes, and issued a cold command: take concubine Qiu back to her own courtyard. From today, seal the gate. No one is to enter or leave. Once the child is born, bring it to the main residence to be raised by the mistress. Concubine Qiu seemed to have been struck dumb, allowing the servants to lift her up and lead her away in a daze. I clenched my fists, barely containing the trembling, rapturous joy that surged from the very core of my being. After Aunt Qiu was taken away, Lu Wenjiao immediately clutched his chest and began coughing violently. I hurried forward to rub his back and help him catch his breath. Please don't upset yourself, young master, your health is what matters. I'm sure Aunt Qiu just had a momentary lapse in judgment. Lu Wenjiao waved his hand, cutting me off. There's no need to say more. I can only conclude that I've misjudged her all these years. She used to be so gentle and kind. I thought she was merely jealous, resentful that I had other women. I never imagined her heart could be so wicked. I lowered my head with a sigh, a flicker of faint disappointment passing through my eyes. You can know a person's face, but not their heart. The young master treats concubine Qiu so well. Why is she still not content? Lu Wenjiao's brow furrowed slightly, and his gaze towards me involuntarily softened with warmth and pity. He took my hand and drew me into his embrace. My dear Shuer, I've wronged you by making you my wife, a woman as wonderful as you deserved better, and I, Lu Wenjiao, was blind to it all before. Please rest assured, I will treat you well from now on. We have our whole future ahead of us. I concealed the coldness in my eyes, buried my face in his chest, and let out a few choked sobs. Lu Wenjiao's arms tightened around me even more. That very night, he stayed in the main residence in the intimacy of the bedchamber, with lips and teeth entwined. I shut my eyes tight, enduring the revulsion as I complied to secure my footing in this marquis household. Now, I still need a child. After nearly a year of marriage, Lu Wenjiao and I finally consummated our union. These days, after court, he would come straight to the main courtyard to play chess and dine with me, and in the evenings, he would always stay with me. Our marital harmony even carried a touch of the sweet, intense affection from our newlywed days. After all those previous troubles, Lu Wenjiao now places his complete reliance and trust in me. He sent someone to deliver the household keys to the main courtyard, entrusting the entire marquis estate to my management. I certainly couldn't let him down. Not long after, the guards I had posted on patrol in the mansion caught a house physician attempting to abscond with the funds. After a brief interrogation, he confessed everything about Madame Chiu's misdeeds, poisoning her own medicine to frame me, murdering Amber and her unborn child, and feigning pregnancy to vie for favor. She even schemed to set me up again, aiming to have the child in her womb die by my hand in some cleverly orchestrated way. However, she is now confined to her own courtyard, with no opportunity to get near me. As the thing in her belly grew larger by the month, it drove the manor's physician to desperation, forcing him to flee. Lu Wenjiao staggered a few steps, collapsed into a chair, and in a fit of rage, violently coughed up a mouthful of blood before fainting. 8. The marquis's residence was thrown into utter chaos. Amidst the confusion, the young maid by my side slipped out of the estate to deliver a message to my sister, just as I had instructed. After regaining consciousness, Lu Wenjiao stared blankly at the canopy above his bed, as if all the life and spirit had been drained from him. When his first child died, he could still console himself with the thought of the child in Aunt Chiu's womb. But now he has learned that Aunt Chiu's pregnancy was a lie. Both children he had longed for were gone. I sat by the bed and gently helped Lu Wenjiao sit up. My lord, are you feeling any better? The medicine is ready, let me help you drink it. He leaned weakly against me. Where is Chiu Shinro? She's still confined to her courtyard. This affair is too disgraceful. If word got out, it would become the laughingstock of the capital, so I took it upon myself to seal off her courtyard, forbidding anyone from entering or leaving. The household physician is also locked in the woodshed at the back. I was waiting for you to wake and decide. Lu Wenjiao took my hand, his eyes full of admiration. Sure, you handled this perfectly. Mother always said a man should marry for virtue. To have you as my wife is the greatest fortune of my life. I lowered my head in feigned bashfulness, hiding the mockery in my eyes. Husband, the court physician knows too much. He cannot be allowed to stay. As for Chiu Shinro, she has served me for many years, and I truly cannot bring myself to kill her. But the murder of my son must be avenged. Give her 50 lashes, then seal off her courtyard and leave her to her fate. Lu Wenjiao's gaze was turbulent yet calm, and as he uttered the final words, an unconscious ferocity flickered within it. Those who appear most sentimental on the surface are often the most ruthless and heartless. I cast a cool glance over his indifferent face, the corner of my brow lifting slightly. Very well, I shall make the arrangements myself. I sat high upon the dais, silently watching the servants carry out the punishment. 50 strokes of the cane would take half the life out of even a robust man, let alone a delicate woman like Chiu Shinro. At first, she still had the strength to curse me at the top of her lungs, but by the end, she was barely drawing breath. Her lower body was a mangled mess of flesh and blood, bones shattered, lying on the ground like a heap of ruined meat. I looked up at the gloomy sky and let out a long, deep sigh. It's almost over. Fetch a physician. She is, after all, a concubine of the marquis's household. We can't just let her die like this. Besides, I still have use for this life of mine. Life in the marquis's manor returned to its placid, uneventful routine. I suggested to Lu Wenjiao that he take 2 more concubines, but he flatly refused. He gazed at me with profound tenderness, urging me to bear him a legitimate heir as soon as possible. Not long after, I received a reply from my elder sister. Hechuan had regained his memory, and they had recently set off on their journey back to the capital. I carefully calculated the timing and, once the days were right, announced the news of my pregnancy. At that moment, Lu Wenjiao had just returned to the estate. Upon hearing the servant's message, he rushed straight to the main courtyard without even changing his clothes. Only when he heard it directly from the court physician that I was nearly 2 months pregnant did he slam the table and burst into hearty laughter. The gloom of the past days vanished in an instant. He strode swiftly into the inner chamber, pulled me into a tight embrace, his eyes brimming with joy. "Sure, you truly are my lucky star." I lowered my gaze with a soft smile, the joy of first-time motherhood kindling a long-lost warmth in my heart. "This is my first child across 2 lifetimes, and will be my only one. As for the child's father, he is of no importance to me. This child will be mine alone." When I was 3 months pregnant, I was taking a walk in the garden. Chio Shinro, who had been locked in the backyard, seized the chaos to escape and knocked me to the ground. I had to stay in bed for 2 days before the pregnancy stabilized. Lu Wenjiao flew into a rage. 9 With red-rimmed eyes, he stayed by my side, gently wiping the sweat from my temple. Once he confirmed that the baby and I were safe, he immediately ordered Chio Shinro's execution. "Sure, you are all I need. Anyone who dares to harm you must die." A secret corner of my heart trembled, and I instinctively turned my head away from his gaze. He realized something, then shook his head with a self-mocking smile. Beneath Lu Wenjiao's seemingly devoted exterior lies a profoundly selfish and callous nature. He is capable of love, but only if you are useful to him and never threaten his vested interests. That's why, in their past life, he stood by and watched his sister die, even going so far as to kick her when she was down. Before long, the servant he had dispatched returned with a report. Concubine Qiao refused to take her own life and wished to see the heir one last time. Lu Wenjiao's fingers twitched slightly. Upon hearing this, his first instinct was to look at me. I curved my lips into a gentle smile and said, "My lord, you should go and see her. After all, you shared affection once." His brow lifted slightly as he gave me a nod. "I'll be right back." "Sure, from now on, you, me, and our child, will build a good life together." I smiled and nodded, watching Lu Wenjiao's receding figure. A profound sense of sorrow and loss washed over me. "Young master, take care on your journey." Lu Wenjiao turned back, the faint, golden light of the setting sun fell upon him, and the contours of his features grew increasingly indistinct. He offered a faint smile, gave me a wave, and walked away without looking back. On that day, Lu Wenjiao, the heir to the Marquis of Dingyuan, was stabbed through the heart by his concubine, Chio Shinro, and died on the spot. Immediately after, Chio Shinro's life force was utterly spent, and she breathed her last. The dagger I had accidentally left in her courtyard ended up being the instrument of their demise. After Lu Wenjiao's death, the reclusive Marquis of Dingyuan, who typically shunned worldly affairs, personally presided over his funeral rites. Although the Marquis held no affection for Lu Wenjiao or his mother, the young man was, after all, his last remaining child. He endured the tragedy of a parent burying their child not once, but twice. Almost overnight, his hair and beard turned completely white. At Lu Wenjiao's funeral, I wept until I collapsed. After regaining my senses, I vowed before Lu Wenjiao's memorial tablet that I would never remarry in this life and would raise our child well. Everyone in the capital praises me for my loyalty and righteousness. Even the imperial court issued an edict commending me. However, Lady Chen, the Marquis's wife, simply could not accept the fact of Lu Wenjiao's death and descended into madness. In her lucid moments, she would point her finger at my face, cursing me as a harbinger of doom, the one who brought misfortune upon her son. Fearing she might harm me and the child, the Marquis of Dingyuan had her sent directly to a manor in the suburbs, with guards watching over her day and night. With the posthumous child of Lu Wenjiao in my womb, I became the sole pillar of the Marquis's household. Seizing this opportunity, I purged the entire household, replacing everyone, inside and out, with my own people. By the time my sister and Yichuan arrived in the capital, everything was settled, and the Marquis's estate was firmly under my control. The Marquis of Dingyuan stared in disbelief at Yichuan, who had suddenly appeared before him. To his overwhelming joy and astonishment, his beloved eldest son was still alive. Tears of profound relief streamed down the old man's face. My sister stood gently to the side, cradling their newborn child in her arms. The haunting memory of her tragic death in a past life began to fade, replaced by the serene and beautiful visage before me now. A genuine, heartfelt smile spread across my face. The Marquis of Dingyuan finally learned the truth behind the tragic deaths of his late wife and legitimate heir. Filled with bitter regret for his past actions, with Lu Wenjiao now dead, he had no choice but to send Lady Chen to the inner prison, condemning her to lifelong confinement. Not long after, the Marquis of Dingyuan passed his title on to Yichuan and successfully petitioned for an honorary title for his sister. His sister, who had died alone and wretched in the courtyard in her previous life, finally found fulfillment in this one. 5 months later, I gave birth to a daughter without complications, and we named her Lu Ansai. In this lifetime, I lived with my elder sister in the Marquis residence for decades, never to be parted again. The end. Story 2. Once again, Hu Ziqiu kicked me out of the car for his beloved Lu Jingyi. With an injured foot, I hobbled through the dark, empty streets for 2 hours without managing to hail a single taxi. Right at that moment, Lu Jingyi sent me a voice message. I played it, and it was Hu Ziqiu's tender voice saying, "Jingyi, I regret it, come back to me, and I'll call off my wedding with Xu Qingwan." I played this voice message on a loop. After the pain reached its peak, a sense of release washed over me. To make way for Hu Ziqiu's love, I chose to leave on the eve of the wedding. I thought my departure was an act of sacrifice. I never imagined that after I left, Hu Ziqiu would search for me everywhere, as if he'd gone mad. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Takata Novel Club. Today, I'm sharing an interesting new story with you all. I received a voice message from Lu Jingyi. I'd been waiting for a taxi on the freezing street for 2 hours. The snow-covered street was bone-chillingly cold and utterly deserted. I kept replaying Hu Ziqiu's heartfelt confession to dispel the quiet and fear of the night. Lu Jingyi sent me several more videos. She was sitting in the passenger seat of Hu Ziqiu's car, smiling sweetly. Hu Ziqiu made her a late-night snack, and he applied medicine to her leg. Hu Ziqiu carried her upstairs, and in the end, Lu Jingyi, wearing her nightgown, lay down on the large bed in the marital bedroom I shared with Hu Ziqiu. She smiled and asked Hu Ziqiu, "Brother Ziqiu, you've always remembered our promise, haven't you? You haven't touched Xu Qingwan in these 6 years, right? Let me tell you, if you've touched Xu Qingwan, you're tainted, and I'll never want you again." Hu Ziqiu didn't answer. He simply pulled Lu Jingyi into his arms and lowered his head to kiss her lips. Tears blurred my vision as I wept uncontrollably on the deserted street in the dead of night. Over a decade of feelings, over a decade of devotion, over a decade of reluctance. Finally, at this moment, I found a reason to let go. I made a call. "Auntie, I don't want to get married anymore." My aunt, far away in a foreign land, fell silent for a moment. "If you don't want to, then don't. I told you long ago that Hu Ziqiu was no good for you. But you wouldn't listen. It's not too late to regret now. Xiaowan, come abroad and find me." I agreed through my sobs. My aunt sighed and said, "Don't cry, you're still so young. There's no need to grieve over a man who isn't worth it." Until today, I always thought Hu Ziqiu was my rock, my happiness found. I met Hu Ziqiu right after college. We were together for 6 years, and beyond holding hands, we never did anything more intimate. I always believed he was respecting me, wanting to save our most precious moments for our wedding night. If it weren't for the video Lu Jingyi sent, I would have never dreamed that his reluctance to be intimate wasn't out of respect for me, but a vow of chastity he was keeping for her. How laughable. He was with me for 6 whole years, all just to force Lu Jingyi to come back to him when I was with Hu Ziqiu. I told him about my family background more than once. He knew the pain Lu Jingyi caused me. He knew that Lu Jingyi and her homewrecker of a mother were responsible for my mother's death and for taking everything from me. He knew exactly how much I hated Lu Jingyi and that mistress mother of hers, yet he still hurt me like this, all for her sake. When I realized Hu Ziqiu was only using me as a plaything to make Lu Jingyi jealous and win her back, my heart turned to ice for him too. It was already the next morning by the time I returned to the marital home I shared with Hu Ziqiu. I pushed the door open and immediately spotted Hu Ziqiu and Lu Jingyi in the dining room. The two of them were sitting face to face, having breakfast. Lu Jingyi said in a sweet, coquettish voice, "Brother Ziqiu, I never knew you were such a good cook." Hu Ziqiu and I had been together for 6 years, and he had never once set foot in the kitchen. I always thought he couldn't cook. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. For 6 years, I'd been like a devoted housekeeper, meticulously preparing 3 meals a day for him. I never skipped a day, even when I was sick, afraid he wouldn't like food from outside. Now, looking at the exquisite breakfast laid out on the table, it finally dawns on me. Hu Ziqiu isn't incapable of cooking, he simply can't be bothered. After all, I'm not the one he loves. He has no reason to go out of his way for me. The two in the dining room were gazing at each other affectionately, completely oblivious to my arrival. It wasn't until they heard the loud slam of the door that they both turned to look. Hu Ziqiu stood up, frowning. "You're back. Where were you last night? Why didn't you come home?" Is he asking a question he already knows the answer to? Last night, with the snow coming down so heavily, he pushed me out of the car for Lu Jingyi and just drove off without a second thought, and now he has the nerve to ask me, all innocently, why I didn't come back with that blizzard, accidents happening left and right, and me stuck out in the middle of nowhere. What were the chances I'd even find a cab? Even if I could get a cab and rush back, what difference would it make? Did I deliberately take a taxi back just to watch them being intimate on the wedding bed I prepared? Without saying a word, I moved past Huijiqiu and headed upstairs. He stopped me, however, and offered a guilty explanation. Jingyi was in a car accident last night and hurt her leg, so I brought her back here. Even while injured, Jingyi never forgot about you. She's been so worried. She kept urging me to find you, Qingwan, your sisters, you share the same blood, you shouldn't let the grudges of the older generation. From the very first day Huijiqiu and I were together, I never hid my family situation from him. He has always been fully aware of the relationship between me and Lu Jingyi. He knows that her homewrecker of a mother was the one who drove my own mother to her death. He knows exactly how Lu Jingyi bullied me when we were kids. He knows how much I despise her. But now he wants me to make peace with Lu Jingyi. How can he even say these things? I couldn't take it anymore and cut him off. She has nothing to do with me. Don't you dare associate her with me. I will never forgive that homewrecker or her daughter. My words infuriated Huijiqiu. His voice suddenly rose sharply. Qingwan, do you have any idea what you're saying? How can you be so unreasonable? Apologize to Jingyi right now. 3. I'd rather die than apologize to Lu Jingyi. I stared coldly at Huijiqiu. And what if I refuse to apologize? What will you do about it? You're utterly unreasonable. No wonder nobody has ever liked you. Qingwan, when will you ever learn to tell right from wrong? I never knew it was wrong to refuse to forgive the mistress and her daughter, to refuse to forgive a vicious woman who has been bullying me and taking everything from me. Harsh, hurtful words poured from Huijiqiu's mouth in a rapid-fire stream. All his warmth and tenderness were reserved for Lu Jingyi. For me, there was only malice, disdain, and cold indifference. No wonder he kept up the act for 6 years. He finally couldn't take it anymore and tore off the mask today, watching Huijiqiu shield Lu Jingyi as if she were a precious treasure, and seeing the fleeting triumph in Lu Jingyi's eyes. I couldn't help but feel my eyes well up. I fought hard to hold back the tears, but my eyes still grew moist. I hated myself for being so weak. I had already decided to give up, so why was I crying over a man like him after his tirade? Jiqiu finally took in my utterly disheveled state. Seeing the tears welling in my eyes, he seemed to soften a little, his tone gentled as he reached for my hand. Qingwan, I'm doing this for your own good. Jingyi is magnanimous. She won't hold what you said to her today against you. I just hope that from now on, there won't be a from now on for us. I stared at Huijiqiu, enunciating each word deliberately. He visibly started. What did you say, Qingwan? You, before Huijiqiu could finish his question, Lu Jingyi, who had been hiding pitifully behind him, covered her face and ran off in tears. Seeing this, Huijiqiu's heart ached. He abandoned me and chased after her, limping. I went upstairs and pushed open the door to the master bedroom of our marital home. The bed was in complete disarray, a testament to how intense last night's battle had been. My wedding photo with Huijiqiu lay on the floor. It was a photo I had begged Huijiqiu for a long time before he finally agreed to take with me. Once I brought it home, I displayed it in the bedroom as if it were a priceless treasure. I used to dust it off every single day, and now it's been tossed on the floor like trash. I grinned, walked over, picked up the wedding photo, and smashed it against the ground several times. The frame shattered quickly under my assault, and I pulled the wedding photo out from inside. In the photo, I was beaming with joy, but Huijiqiu's face was tight and expressionless. I remembered his gentle, jade-like smile in the video Lu Jingyi posted. So it wasn't that he couldn't smile, he just didn't want to smile for me. The line between love and indifference was so stark. I must have been blind before. I found a pair of scissors and cut the two people in the wedding photo apart. Huijiqiu, from this moment on, I'm done with you. For I spent the entire day cleaning out the wedding home. I poured my heart and soul into designing and decorating that wedding home for Huijiqiu and me. I poured all my love into designing and decorating our marital home, even giving it a sickeningly sweet nickname, our love nest. Now, that very love nest is occupied by another woman, and it makes me sick. I threw out all the bedding and the wedding decorations I had prepared for so long. I packed up and threw out everything I had lovingly prepared for Huiqingzhou with my own hands. Even the wedding ring I had spent so long choosing was tossed into the trash. After spending a whole day clearing it all out, I called the real estate agent and put the house up for sale. Then, suitcase in hand, I left the marital home and went to my other apartment. Just as I arrived at the apartment, Huijiqiu called. Qingwan, I have to go out of town on a business trip for a few days. We'll have to postpone our appointment at the Civil Affairs Bureau tomorrow. I gave a faint acknowledgement. Hu Zhiqiu's voice was uncharacteristically laced with guilt. We'll go register as soon as I'm back. If the timing is too tight, we could always have the wedding first and do the paperwork later, I responded with a noncommittal hum, sensing my indifference. Hu Zhiqiu continued, I apologize for last night, I didn't think it through properly. Qingwan, wait for me. I'll have a big surprise for you when I get back. After hanging up, I let out a cold, bitter laugh. I couldn't understand why Hu Zhiqiu would lie to me since Lu Jingyi had agreed to be with him. He should have been upfront with me and asked me to step aside for them, yet he kept lying to me. Unaware that the Lu Jingyi he fancied had already exposed his deceit, Lu Jingyi's social media feed laid out, in crystal clear detail, the cozy, affectionate daily life she shared with Hu Zhiqiu. Hu Zhiqiu and Lu Jingyi flew abroad for a vacation. They chose Paris, with plans to visit the Eiffel Tower and see the lavender fields. I had asked Hu Zhiqiu for all of these things, but he never did a single one for me. Now, he's going out of his way to fulfill Lu Jingyi's demands. The difference between love and its absence is crystal clear. Lu Jingyi taunted me, saying that Hu Zhiqiu is only staying with me now to humiliate me. He plans to swap brides at the wedding, making me a complete and utter laughingstock. Well then, we'll just see who ends up being the laughingstock. 5. Determined to make a clean break with Hu Zhiqiu and leave this place of heartache, I submitted my resignation at the company and booked a flight abroad for the day of the wedding. My friends and colleagues all thought I was quitting to get married. A close colleague of mine even sent me a message asking about the wedding, only to receive my notice of the wedding's cancellation the day before the wedding. Hu Zhiqiu finally returned. We hadn't seen each other for half a month, and during that time, I hadn't called or texted Hu Zhiqiu once. It was Hu Zhiqiu who kept bombarding me with messages and calls to humiliate me at the wedding. He actually pretended to be devoted, all the while playing me. I saw right through it but didn't call him out. The day I returned, Hu Zhiqiu went to our marital home but couldn't get in. I sold the marital home for a rock-bottom price. The new owners changed the code after moving in. Hu Zhiqiu called me, Qingwan, why can't I get into the marital home? I replied nonchalantly, I've got a surprise waiting there. Let's go see it after the wedding. Over the past 6 years, I prepared so many surprises for Hu Zhiqiu, big and small. He probably thought I was saving a big one for last, so he didn't bring up entering the house again. Qingwan, let's go back to my place tonight. My parents want to see you. Hu Qingzhou's parents have always been very kind to me, so I had no reason to refuse. I arrived at the Hu residence right on time that evening, never expecting to see Lu Jingyi there. She wasn't alone. She showed up at the Hu family home with her homewrecker of a mother and my worthless father. When I walked in, Hu Qingzhou's parents and my scumbag father's mistress, Lu Jingyi's mother, were happily discussing the wedding arrangements. I didn't see Hu Qingzhou or Lu Jingyi anywhere, but as I reached the living room, I heard movement from the staircase. I saw Hu Qingzhou in a suit and Lu Jingyi in an evening gown coming down the stairs. Lu Jingyi's gown was stunning, even more exquisite than the wedding dress I wore on my own wedding day. I watched quietly as Hu Qingzhou and Lu Jingyi walked down the stairs arm in arm. Seeing me, Hu Qingzhou spoke up first. Qingwan, you're here. Jingyi insisted on being a bridesmaid. Since you're her only sister, we agreed. Lu Jingyi's homewrecker of a mother and my scumbag father were explaining why she was wearing such an expensive gown. I looked at them expressionlessly. Does a bridesmaid really need to wear a custom-made dress that's practically identical to the wedding gown? Isn't it just to ensure a seamless transition during the ceremony? They really have it all figured out, don't they? Everyone in this room knows exactly what's going on between Hu Zhiqiu and Lu Jingyi. I might as well be frank. You look stunning. Anyone would think you two were the bride and groom. 6. Seeing me speak this way, Hu Zhiqiu let go of Lu Jingyi's hand and walked over. Qingwan, let me explain about the dress. No need to explain. I waved my hand. You have your reasons for doing this, and I trust you. Seeing how agreeable and unruffled I was, Hu Zhiqiu's expression froze slightly. He stared at me intently, while I sat calmly on the sofa, eating the cherries Mrs. Hu had handed me. Just as I was about to eat the third one, Hu Zhiqiu suddenly sat down beside me. Where's your wedding ring? I replied coldly. I left it at home. Hu Zhiqiu was displeased and challenged me. Didn't you say you'd never take it off? I once believed Hu Zhiqiu loved me, so after we decided to marry and he put the ring on my finger, I swore I would never remove it. But I later discovered that this ring wasn't the only one of its kind. There were 3 in total, with the other one adorning Lu Jingyi's finger. It's not convenient to wear. Seeing my indifferent expression, Hu Zhiqiu's face also darkened. He spoke to Lu Jingyi in a huff. but I didn't react at all and just kept eating my fruit. He finally couldn't take it anymore and went upstairs with Lu Jingyi again. Seeing this, Mrs. Hu also felt it was inappropriate and suggested I go up to check. But I refused. Whatever Hu Qingzhou is doing with Lu Jingyi now has nothing to do with me anymore. Dinner was lavishly prepared, and Lu Jingyi quickly took the seat to Hu Zhiqiu's left. Without a hint of expression, I went to the far side of the table, putting as much distance between us as possible. Lu Jingyi kept serving food to Hu Zhiqiu, speaking to him in a sweet, coquettish voice. I kept my head down, eating my meal in complete silence, until a shrimp appeared in my bowl. I looked up. Lu Jingyi sat opposite me, looking at me with an ingratiating smile. "Sister," she said, "Brother Zhiqiu told me you like shrimp." I pushed the shrimp out of my bowl with a blank expression. "I don't like shrimp because I'm allergic to seafood." Seeing me push out the shrimp Lu Jingyi had placed in my bowl, Hu Zhiqiu spoke up unhappily. "Qingwan, he was warning me, telling me to behave, but who does he think he is? Why should I ruin my own health for his sake?" I ignored Hu Zhiqiu and ate my meal expressionlessly, while Lu Jingyi over there began to act all wronged. "I know my sister doesn't like me. She must be treating me this way because she hates the idea of me being her bridesmaid, but my only wish right now is to be my sister's bridesmaid. Sister, could you please not hate me?" She spoke with such pitiful vulnerability, as if I were the one bullying her. Hu Zhiqiu's face darkened, and even Mr. and Mrs. Hu started looking at me with strange expressions. I kept my head down and ate in silence. Seeing that I wouldn't respond, Lu Jingyi got up and left. Sobbing, Hu Zhiqiu went after her. I finished my dinner without much feeling. All this wretchedness ends today. Starting tomorrow, I'll have nothing more to do with any of these people. 7. When I left the Hu residence, I bid farewell to Mr. and Mrs. Hu very politely. I thanked them for their care and understanding over the past 6 years. Mrs. Hu looked at me with a complicated expression. "Qingwan, you're a good child, but you must know your limits. You went a bit too far tonight." I was non-committal. "Mrs. Hu has indeed been kind to me, but that kindness is entirely because of Hu Qingzhou." Could she really not see what was going on between Hu Qingzhou and Lu Jingyi? She didn't blame her own son, nor did she blame Lu Jingyi. Instead, she turned all the criticism on me. It just goes to show how shallow her supposed kindness to me really was. I had felt guilty about leaving without a word tomorrow, but seeing Mrs. Hu's expression, I finally let out a sigh of relief. I no longer owe anyone anything. I can leave with a clear conscience and without any burden. Back at the apartment, my phone rang. It was Hu Zhiqiu calling. I refused to answer. He quickly sent a message. "Jingyi being a bridesmaid tomorrow is non-negotiable. If you don't agree, then forget about the wedding." From the moment we decided to get married until now, Hu Zhiqiu has never lifted a finger for the wedding. I designed my own wedding dress. I booked the venue, and I arranged everything with the wedding planner. He never got involved, acting like a complete outsider. I always thought he was just too busy, and I felt sorry for him working so hard. I was willing to shoulder everything myself, but all this time, watching me run around, he must have been laughing at how foolish I was. Thank goodness I came to my senses just in time. It's not too late since nothing disastrous happened. I'm grateful that Hu Zhiqiu stayed faithful to Lu Jingyi and never touched me. I'm relieved I'm leaving clean and untouched. The thought of being tainted by such a disgusting scumbag would have haunted me forever. While I was giving Hu Zhiqiu the cold shoulder, Lu Jingyi actually had the nerve to send me another provocative message. Hu Zhiqiu tenderly kissed away the tear stains on Lu Jingyi's face, promising her over and over, "I'll take responsibility for you. You're the one I love most." The two clung to each other, locked in a passionate, inseparable kiss. Ha! I let out a cold laugh. Since they're so eager to disgust me like this, they can't blame me for being ruthless. Tomorrow, I will definitely deliver a grand gift to that scumbag Hu Zhiqiu and that wretched woman Lu Jingyi. I hope they like the big gift I sent. After washing up and getting into bed, I slept soundly through the night. The next morning, the alarm went off and I quickly got up to wash up. I hurried to the airport with my simple luggage. Just as I was boarding the plane, Hu Zhiqiu's call came through. I ignored it, and immediately after, Hu Zhiqiu sent a voice message. "Shu Qingwan, where are you right now?" "Qingwan, answer me, where are you? I'm coming to find you right now. Why did you sell our house? Why did you get rid of all our things? So many gifts, our wedding photos. Why would you dispose of them without even telling me?" Hu Zhiqiu's voice trembled slightly, and the faint sound of someone else speaking could be heard nearby. "Miss Shu transferred the property to me half a month ago. Here is the deed. Oh, by the way, I found this ring in the trash. I couldn't get through to the lady who sold the house, and she's not replying to my messages. It looks expensive, so I didn't dare throw it away. Could this be yours? The flight attendant was reminding passengers to power off their devices, and I switched off my phone without hesitation. As the plane soared into the clouds, I gazed out the window. The clear blue sky and golden sunshine promised a good start. I wished myself a smooth journey, future prosperity, freedom from toxic people, and a life of happiness and peace. I slept through the entire 40-plus hour long-haul flight. The plane landed smoothly. As I walked out of the airport, I saw my aunt, who had been waiting for me. She ran over with a smile, hugged me, and kissed my cheek, saying, "Well done. That's exactly how you should deal with scumbags and trash." My aunt pulled my luggage for me as we walked out, chatting with me along the way. Auntie already knows what happened back home. Her phone has been blowing up. You know what? That scumbag Huajiqiu called me dozens of times, constantly asking for your whereabouts. How could I possibly tell him? I blocked dozens of his numbers, then got curious and checked the news back home. That's when I found out you'd messed with them like that. Auntie laughed heartily. I never thought you'd do something like that. That scumbag Huajiqiu was putting on such a devoted act. If I hadn't seen those videos of him with Lu Jingyi, I might have been fooled too. Now he and that bitch Lu Jingyi deserve each other. May they be stuck together forever. What my aunt said made me burst out laughing. 9. I never intended to upset Huajiqiu and Lu Jingyi in the first place. Honestly, if Lu Jingyi hadn't been so aggressive, I would have left on good terms, believing in a clean break. But they're really pushing it. I don't plan to make a fuss about Huajiqiu using me as a pawn to provoke Lu Jingyi. When I think about it, it's my own fault for being so foolish. I brought this on myself. Even though Huajiqiu is a real piece of work, his parents have genuinely been good to me. I was willing to let it go out of respect for his parents, but he's just gone too far. He actually wanted to humiliate me at the wedding by having a custom wedding dress, not a bridesmaid dress, made for Lu Jingyi. When I refused to let her be a bridesmaid, he had the nerve to threaten me and call off the wedding. As for Lu Jingyi, she's already taken Huajiqiu back from me. I stepped aside and let her have him. As the other woman, she should know her place and keep a low profile, but she doesn't want to stay in her lane. She keeps sending me video messages, over and over again. Lu Jingyi thought I'd be a sniveling mess, crying my eyes out. After all, I loved Huajiqiu so much. She sees herself as the victor. Her homewrecker mother beat my mom, and now she's outdone her, beating me at my own game. She's here to rub her victory in my face. Since Lu Jingyi is so smug and eager to flaunt what she's done, I'll gladly oblige her. I contacted the wedding planner and paid for the entire wedding in full, with just one condition: I, the bride, would not be attending the ceremony. Instead, I instructed the wedding planner to create a video montage of Lu Jingyi and Huajiqiu's intimate moments and play it on a loop on the big screen at the venue. Lu Jingyi had posted so many of those cozy moments with Huajiqiu, it never crossed her wildest dreams that I had saved them all as evidence of their affair, and she certainly never imagined I would broadcast them so publicly in front of all the guests on the wedding day itself. I personally informed every one of my colleagues and friends on my side that the wedding was cancelled. However, the guests from the Hua family, my scumbag father, and the relatives from Lu Jingyi's homewrecker mother's side were all kept completely in the dark without exception. They all showed up at the hotel for the banquet as per the invitations. The hotel I booked was a 5-star establishment, and the food was absolutely exquisite. I wonder what expression the Hua family's guests will have on their faces as they enjoy the delicious feast while watching the videos, photos, and accounts of Huajiqiu and Lu Jingyi's affair. Auntie said it's all over the internet now. That scumbag Huajiqiu and that homewrecker Lu Jingyi are being torn to shreds online. With a smile, I turned my phone on, and it was immediately bombarded by a frenzy of calls and messages before I could even get a proper look at who they were from. Another call came ringing in. 10. I answered the call with a complete lack of emotion. Huajiqiu's voice came through, tense and clear. "Qingwan, you finally picked up. Qingwan, please, let me explain." "Explain what?" "Explain how you were cheating with Lu Jingyi in our marital home. Explain taking her on a trip to France. Explain how you were kissing her the night before our wedding." "No, Qingwan, it's not what you think. My feelings for Lu Jingyi, we're innocent. I only see her as a sister. I was just comforting her. We didn't do anything." I let out a derisive snort, too scared to own up to it. "Huh, Huajiqiu, your last name is Hua, hers is Lu. What kind of siblings are you? And in all my life, I've never heard of siblings who make out and end up in bed together. Please, spare me the disgust. It's not like that. Those photos of Qingwan are fake. I'm just grateful to her. Lu Jingyi has depression, she said she liked me, she slit her wrists. I was just afraid she'd do something drastic and tried to comfort her. Please believe me, the one I love has always been you. Listening to his meaningless excuses, I hung up on Hu Zhiqiu without a trace of emotion. How utterly ridiculous. Lu Jingyi has depression. Is this some kind of joke? The Lu Jingyi I know has always been the very definition of malice and cruelty. After her homewrecker mother drove my own mother to her death and brought Lu Jingyi into our home, all I ever saw was a Lu Jingyi who was a poisonous flower of pure, unadulterated evil. She is just as shameless and vicious as her homewrecker of a mother. In front of my worthless father, she sweetly calls me sister, but behind his back, she cuts up my clothes and tears my mother's portrait to shreds. She faked being pushed down the stairs by me and pretended I locked her out of the house, all to make my scumbag father punish, blame, and despise me. Yet I have always been the one who was truly bullied and hurt. For over a decade after my mother's death, while I was still a minor, I endured relentless bullying and malicious schemes from Lu Jingyi. Even at school, she teamed up with a gang of mean girls to torment me. They would lock me in classrooms and storage closets. My textbooks were defaced, torn up, and thrown away. She even maliciously gathered a gang of thugs in an attempt to violate my honor. That night, I had a hunch and decided not to take my usual route home. Instead, I chose a different path, where I encountered a young man lying in a pool of blood. I called an ambulance, 120, to save the unconscious youth, which also secured a lifeline for myself. The boy came from a wealthy family, which prompted the police to conduct a months-long investigation in the area to find the perpetrator. Because of this, the bullying against Lu Jingyi finally came to an end. I managed to get through high school safely, got into university, and escaped that hellhole of a family. Hu Zhiqiu is in love with Lu Jingyi. In his eyes, she could do no wrong, even if she committed murder or arson. I didn't want to argue with him, so I hung up and blocked him right away. I never imagined Hu Zhiqiu would track me down overseas. 11. I saw Hu Zhiqiu again 3 days later. When he showed up near my aunt's residence, he stubbornly kept watch, refusing to leave, until security made a call. I had no choice but to go out to meet him. Hu Zhiqiu looked like he had lost a lot of weight. He was squatting on the ground, looking utterly dejected, but his face lit up with surprise when he saw me walk out. He stood up and hurried towards me. Qingwan, what exactly are you trying to do? I asked coldly. Qingwan, I know you've misunderstood my relationship with Lu Jingyi. There's really nothing between us. I came to see you today specifically to explain things. Hu Zhiqiu was desperately trying to explain his relationship with Lu Jingyi to me. He insisted that he and Lu Jingyi were completely innocent, and the reason he cared for her so much was because she was his savior. Back in my senior year of high school, my father's enemies arranged to have me killed. When I was on the brink of death, it was Lu Jingyi who saved my life. How could someone as venomous as Lu Jingyi ever save a person? It sounds as absurd as a fairy tale to me. Yet Hu Zhiqiu insisted with certainty that it was Lu Jingyi who saved him. He said that after his rescue, his parents had someone investigate, and they confirmed it was indeed Lu Jingyi. He mentioned that Lu Jingyi still had clothes at home stained with his blood from when she helped him after his injury. Hu Zhiqiu went on and on about the date he was injured and his feelings of gratitude toward Lu Jingyi. Qingwan, I really don't have romantic feelings for Lu Jingyi. I'm just grateful for how she saved my life back then. She has depression and can't handle stress. I know she likes me. Hu Zhiqiu scratched his head. I truly don't love her in that way. I just feel sorry for her and sympathize with her condition. If it weren't for her, I'd be dead. So out of gratitude for Lu Jingyi saving my life, I have no choice but to tolerate and help her. Qingwan, can you believe me just this once? Can you let go of your resentment toward Lu Jingyi because of this? No way. I refused Hu Zhiqiu's request without a moment's hesitation. Lu Jingyi is vicious to the core. She doesn't have depression at all. If anyone's going to get depression, it's the people she bullies. Besides, I don't believe for a second she'd ever save anyone. Qingwan, why won't you believe me? Hu Zhiqiu was frantic. I only trust my gut. I know a leopard can't change its spots. I'm telling the truth. Why won't you believe me? Hu Zhiqiu kept repeating the details of how Lu Jingyi saved him. I was utterly fed up, so I turned and walked away. My aunt was waiting for me in the living room. She breathed a sigh of relief when she saw me return. Did you sort it out? He's acting crazy. He kept insisting there's no love between him and Lu Jingyi, that he's only helping her out of gratitude for saving his life. I relayed Hu Zhiqiu's words to my aunt. She frowned, then suddenly gasped. Qingwan, doesn't it strike you as odd? What? The date and location of the rescue? Think about it carefully. My aunt's words jolted me. I thought it over carefully, and a look of shock spread across my face. No way. 12. New Year's Day 10 years ago was the day Hua Jiqiu met with disaster, at the very location and time Hua Jiqiu had mentioned. I also saved a boy covered in blood. What are the odds? I don't believe Lu Jingyi would save anyone. She's not a kind person at all, and the fact that it's the exact same incident, at the same place and time, is highly suspicious. Hua Jiqiu said he saw blood-stained clothes at Lu Jingyi's house when I was helping the injured boy. I got his blood all over me. I changed my clothes as soon as I got home. Those clothes later went missing, but I didn't think much of it at the time. Could Lu Jingyi have taken them to impersonate someone? I suddenly remembered something. Because of what happened that night, my aunt rushed back from abroad and rented a new apartment for me to live in. My aunt stayed with me until the college entrance exams were over. With her by my side, I never had to go back to that suffocating home again. After that, I cut off all contact with that deadbeat father of mine. My aunt across from me spoke slowly and deliberately. They must have taken credit for your heroic act. I always wondered why that scumbag father of yours suddenly started doing so well in business. Why would the Hua family help him? Could it be because of this? Xiaoyu was absolutely furious, muttering curses under her breath. That bastard and that bitch. They killed my sister and now they're bullying you like this. Qingwan, we can't just let this go. We have to get to the bottom of this. My aunt is a woman of action. She immediately launched an investigation. While my aunt was investigating, Hua Jiqiu kept pestering me relentlessly. I gave him the cold shoulder, but he wouldn't back down, because Hua Jiqiu stayed abroad, determined to win me back. Lu Jingyi couldn't sit still anymore. She followed me and flew overseas as well. Lu Jingyi came to see me on her very first day abroad. I didn't want to meet her, so I deleted all her calls and messages, seeing that I was ignoring her. Lu Jingyi actually showed up at my workplace to confront me. Shu Qingwan, we need to talk. 13. Fine, have it your way. I crossed my arms and stared at Lu Jingyi. Spit it out. What do you want? Lu Jingyi glared at me with hatred. Why do you keep haunting Jiqiu like a ghost? You know perfectly well he only has eyes for me. Why won't you let go? Why are you playing these hard-to-get games? Playing hard to get? That's laughable. Lu Jingyi fumed. Jiqiu and I were about to get married. It was your shameless act of running away that humiliated us at the wedding and made everyone blame him. He only came to find you because he wanted your forgiveness. If your Jiqiu loves you so much, why doesn't he just marry you? Why come looking for his ex? Isn't that just because he pities you? He's afraid you might do something drastic. The one who might do something drastic is you, isn't it? I heard you have depression. I looked Lu Jingyi up and down. You don't look like someone with depression. I'm guessing your depression is fake, right? What nonsense are you talking? You know perfectly well if I'm talking nonsense or not. Lu Jingyi, I've always known you were shameless, but I never imagined you could sink this low. Does stolen property make you feel insecure? Is that why you keep spinning lie after lie to cover your tracks? I don't understand what you're saying. Lu Jingyi's expression grew flustered. Under my relentless questioning, her guilt was showing. I saw right through her and smiled. How could you possibly not understand? Why don't you tell me all about your love story with your dear Jiqiu? When exactly did this grand romance of yours begin? Why should I tell you? As long as you stop pestering brother Jiqiu, we can go back to the way things were. Her tone had already grown weak. I let out a scornful laugh. Go back to when you supposedly saved him. Lu Jingyi, are you really that benevolent? Look at the sheer malice and shamelessness written all over your face. Would you ever save anyone? That's a fairy tale. Lu Jingyi's face turned ashen. All her arrogance gone. I don't know what you're talking about. You can't drive a wedge between brother Jiqiu and me. Yes, I know I can't drive a wedge between you two. I just want to be sure. Did you really save Hua Jiqiu on New Year's Eve 10 years ago? Are you certain you were the one who rescued him, and not an imposter? Under my relentless questioning, Lu Jingyi finally broke. Sis, I know you hate me. I've already admitted my mistake and apologized. Can't you just forgive me? Do you really have to push me to the brink? As the words hung in the air, she swayed unsteadily. If you hate the sight of me that much, then I'll just go and die. 14. A trickle of blood appeared at the corner of Lu Jingyi's mouth as she clutched her chest. If I die, she whispered, will you finally forgive me? I watched her coldly, observing her clumsy collapse into Hua Jiqiu's arms. I watched as Hua Jiqiu called her name in a panic, over and over. Jingyi, hold on, I won't let you die. I promise, cradling her desperately. He didn't forget to scream at me. What are you just standing there for? Call an ambulance. How can you be so heartless? Qingwan, I was wrong about you. I watched them unmoved. I'd bet my life she won't die. If someone as shameless as her would kill herself, then there wouldn't be a single disgraceful person left in this world. My words only served to infuriate Hu Ziqiu further. If he hadn't been busy supporting Lu Jingyi, leaving him no free hand, I'm certain he would have lunged at me. You're something else. Xu Qingwan, I always thought you were gentle and kind. I never imagined you could be so vicious. I hate myself for ever falling for someone like you. I was completely wrong about you. Right back at you. Now get lost with your sweetheart. Stop making a spectacle of yourselves. Lu Jingyi, blood trickling from the corner of her mouth, was taken to the hospital by an ambulance that happened to arrive. As she was being loaded into the ambulance, I saw the smug look on her face. She was declaring to me that she had won another round. Seeing that infuriating, triumphant smile on her face, the corner of my own mouth lifted. If you don't court death, you won't die. Since Lu Jingyi is so eager to meet her end, I must oblige her. My aunt's investigation should have made some progress by now, but I don't plan to reveal anything at the moment for no other reason than to fulfill Hu Ziqiu's love. It's best for that scumbag and that bitch to be stuck with each other, so they don't go ruining other people's lives. 15. After being rushed to the hospital and receiving emergency treatment, Lu Jingyi was finally out of danger. I heard she had taken a massive overdose of medication in a suicide attempt when she came to see me. I wonder what kind of drug it was that even failed to kill her when she wanted to die. Personally, I don't believe she was trying to kill herself, but there's no convincing Hu Ziqiu. He's convinced she was. It said that Hu Ziqiu was utterly heartbroken. To ensure his savior wouldn't seek death and could live well, he agreed to marry Lu Jingyi. Their wedding was scheduled for the following month. Free from the harassment of that annoying scumbag and no longer having to deal with that venomous, two-faced woman, I felt a great sense of relief. There was finally a response regarding the matter my aunt was investigating. The private detective's findings were piled high on the desk. My aunt and I were snacking while going through the investigation files on Lu Jingyi. Just as my aunt suspected, Lu Jingyi and her homewrecker mother stole the credit for saving Hu Ziqiu, which was actually my doing since I had moved away and there was only one girl left in the house. The Hu family identified Lu Jingyi as the savior based on the blood-stained clothes from Hu Ziqiu. Out of gratitude, the Hu family extended a helping hand to my scumbag father's company. They catered to my scumbag father and his mistress's every whim, enabling them to live a life of luxury for all these years. That family of three thrived on stolen goodwill, living in comfort without a shred of remorse. While investigating Lu Jingyi, the private detective stumbled upon a shocking secret concerning my mother's death. My mother didn't die of natural causes. She was murdered by that mistress. Lu Jingyi's homewrecker of a mother secretly administered illicit drugs to my mom, causing her to hallucinate and fall down the stairs to her death. I was grinding my teeth with rage. The murder of one's mother is an unforgivable crime. I can't believe they deceived me for all these years, leading me to believe my mother's death was from natural causes. If they had kept a low profile, I would never have found out about this. They didn't have to worry about being exposed, but they just had to push their luck, had to start right in front of me. It would be a shame to let their meticulous scheming go to waste. After reading the private investigator's report, my aunt and I were both in a somber mood. For a long time, we just looked at each other. I've got an idea, we spoke in unison, both bringing up the wedding at the same time. Let's stir up some fun at the wedding and give them another taste of the banquet joy. 16. Hu Ziqiu and Lu Jingyi's wedding day arrived quickly. The wedding was a grand affair. Since Lu Jingyi was in poor health, Hu Ziqiu personally oversaw every detail himself. Even from my distant life abroad, I received daily updates from an unknown number detailing the preparations for Hu Ziqiu and Lu Jingyi's wedding. The Hu family is immensely wealthy and influential. They spared no expense, ensuring only the best of everything. It was nothing like my own wedding, where I had to arrange everything myself. I watched as that unknown number flaunted her wedding dress, her engagement ring, and the house they'd live in. She even had to show off the hotel for the wedding banquet. I smiled, watching Lu Jingyi's little performance, waiting to see her downfall. The wedding finally went ahead as scheduled. Lu Jingyi, her scumbag father, and his mistress, the happy little family of three, were gleefully whisked off to the hotel. The venue was packed with guests, and it seemed everyone had forgotten what had happened before. Everyone was all smiles, offering their congratulations to Hu Ziqiu and Lu Jingyi. As the wedding march began, Hu Ziqiu stood at the center of the stage, waiting for that scoundrel of a father to walk Lu Jingyi down the aisle. Their smiles were radiant, happiness seemingly within their grasp. But just as Lu Jingyi was handed over to Hu Ziqiu by her scumbag father, something unexpected happened. Police entered the wedding venue and produced handcuffs for Lu Jingyi's beaming mistress mother. Lu Jingyi's mistress mother was taken away for questioning, and the scumbag father couldn't escape either. The wedding was forced to halt once again. News about Lu Jingyi's mother being a murderer quickly spread. Not only was Lu Jingyi's mother exposed as a murderer, but news also broke about Lu Jingyi's past school bullying of other girls, including her abuse of me, her half-sister. All the details of how she plotted with those delinquent girls and thugs to humiliate me were laid bare. This, of course, also included her deception of the Huijiqiu family by pretending to be their savior. It even covered how she had a doctor fabricate a so-called depression diagnosis to trick Huijiqiu into waiting on her hand and foot. Huijiqiu was furious when he realized it was all a scam. The devotion and effort he once poured into protecting Lu Jingyi was now matched only by his utter disgust for her. Lu Jingyi's homewrecker mother was sent to prison, where a lengthy sentence awaited her. The Hua family withdrew their support from that scumbag father, and his company quickly began to crumble. As for Lu Jingyi, it said she was already pregnant with Huijiqiu's child when they held their wedding ceremony. She even dreamed of using the child as leverage against Huijiqiu. Unfortunately, she was being naive. Huijiqiu had someone take Lu Jingyi to the hospital. She resisted fiercely, but an accident occurred, and she lost the baby. She ended up paralyzed from the waist down herself, and will spend the rest of her life in a wheelchair. She always liked to feign illness for sympathy, so I guess she got what she was asking for. Huijiqiu later came looking for me abroad, but I had already moved away with my aunt. I never want to see that person again. My entanglement with him ended the moment he started seeing Lu Jingyi behind my back. The end. That's the end of the first story. I hope you enjoyed it. The next one will be even more exciting, so let's continue together. 8 months pregnant, at a prenatal checkup, my husband abandoned me and left after a single phone call from his childhood sweetheart. In the past, I would have made a scene right there in public, but this time, I just gave a calm, silent nod. Alright, she's dealing with depression, you should go be with her. I know her depression is a lie, but I just don't care anymore. I'll be leaving in just 2 months. 1. The betrayal of the circle. Opening my phone, the first thing I saw was a photo of Shen Nanfeng and Zhao Xing'er together on his social media feed. I used to beg him to post pictures of us together, but he'd always give me that cold look and call me childish. My name appeared on the display screen in the hospital lobby. Yunxia, why isn't your husband here again? I told you last time that a family member must be present for this appointment. You're 8 months alone now. There are many things that require careful attention, the doctor said with a tone of exasperated concern. My face pale. I could only fall back on the same tired excuses I'd used countless times before to conceal the failure of my marriage. No matter how busy you are with work, you can't just ignore your pregnant wife. I had just gotten home when Shen Nanfeng arrived right behind me, carrying a bouquet of lisianthus. Every time he upset me, he would always bring something home to appease me. It was his way of offering an olive branch, and to keep our fragile relationship from falling apart, I would always accept it, even though I'm allergic to pollen. Those nights when I was burning up and itching all over were among the rare moments Shen Nanfeng would feel a pang of guilt toward me, but the next time, he would still forget that I'm allergic to pollen. This time, I'm done. Shen Nanfeng's face instantly darkened. Yunxia, what are you making a fuss about now? So I didn't go with you to the prenatal checkup. You've been going by yourself for months. It's not like you can't manage without me. He paused after saying that. You saw the social media post. That was just Xing'er's prank. You know how she is. Are you really getting jealous over her? In the past, I would have burst into tears, screaming at him with all my might like a harpy, telling him that Zhao Xing'er isn't sick, she doesn't have depression. She's just faking it all. This time, I just gave a faint nod and said, you're right. Shen Nanfeng was taken aback, not expecting my reaction. He thought it was my new way of showing jealousy. That night, I was burning up with fever. Despite all my efforts to avoid it, I had an allergic reaction. A flicker of surprise crossed Shen Nanfeng's face. He got up, got dressed, and took me to the hospital. Just as I was about to head out, my phone rang. Zhao Xing'er's voice was choked with sobs as she cried out, Nanfeng, please, don't worry about me anymore. You have Yunxia to take care of. I have nothing. I'd be better off dead. With that, the call ended. Shen Nanfeng's face instantly paled with panic. He snatched up his car keys and bolted out the door. I stood at the doorway, watching as he sped off in his car. I averted my gaze and hailed a taxi to the hospital. I felt so wretched it was suffocating. I spent the whole night in the hospital on an 4 drip. At 7 in the morning, I got a message from Shen Nanfeng. Remember to take your medicine. I turned off my phone without replying. Just as I was drifting off to sleep, my phone rang again. Shinger's condition is unstable. I won't be coming home tonight. He paused, afraid I'd make another unreasonable scene like before, then spoke in a patronizing tone. Tell me what you want. I'll bring it for you tomorrow. I refused and hung up the phone. When I got home, Shen Nanfeng called again. I waited quietly, but there was no sound from the other side. Suddenly, a man's voice rang out. It was Shen Nanfeng's good brother, He Chen, his tone laced with teasing and envy too. Shen Nanfeng's indifference. Nanji, I really envy you. You've got a stunningly beautiful wife at home about to give birth to your child, and on the outside, there's that fresh, tender childhood sweetheart who wants no one but you. Your sister-in-law really has a gentle temper. If it were my wife at home, she would have raised hell by now, Shen Nanfeng said disdainfully. How dare she make a scene with me? The position of Mrs. Shen was something she schemed and begged for. Besides, she's pregnant, not disabled. Shinger can't do without me, but she managed to carry the child this far just fine without me. The call ended. Silent tears streamed down my face. This wasn't the first time I'd heard Shen Nanfeng say something like that. That time, I broke down right in front of all his friends and had a hysterical fight with him. Yunxia, could you please stop embarrassing me in public? After that, Shen Nanfeng never took me to his friends' gatherings again. I contacted my lawyer. Get the divorce papers ready as soon as possible. I don't want anything, including the child. A week had passed. This was the 66th time Shen Nanfeng picked up his phone today. The man frowned. The familiar chat window remained silent. He Chen leaned in to take a look. What are you looking at? Nan, hasn't your wife contacted you for days? Shen Nanfeng kicked him away, his face darkening. Hey, Nan, where are you going? He Nan scratched his head in frustration. A sound came from the doorway, and a man walked in with a dark expression. His gaze halted upon seeing the takeout on the table. Takeout, Yunxia. Do you have any idea how bad this is for the baby you're carrying? Is this how you take care of your child? My hand holding the chopsticks froze, and I looked up at him. So, what do you think I can eat? When I first got pregnant, my mother wanted to come take care of me, but he refused, saying it would spoil me. Now that my belly is big, I can't even get near the stove. Shen Nanfeng's expression softened a little as he sat down beside me. If you wanted me back, you could have just called and apologized. Yunxia, don't be so stubborn. It won't do you any good. For a while after that, Shen Nanfeng came home on time every day to cook for me. He learned to cook all those years ago, and it was for my sake. The year my studio first opened, I was so busy I'd go 2 or 3 days barely eating a thing. Shen Nanfeng was heartbroken to see me like that. He stayed up nights learning to make nutritious meals, delivering them to me on the dot every day and making sure I ate. That evening, Shen Nanfeng offered to help me take a bath. We've been married for ages. What's there to be shy about? There's not an inch of you I haven't seen. But the moment my clothes hit the floor, I didn't miss the look of disgust in his eyes. My body, swollen from pregnancy, had become the reason for his contempt. I've still got some work to finish. Don't wait up for me tonight. The study light flickered on, then off again. Moments later, in the dead of night, my eyes slowly opened. I heard the front door open and then shut softly. It wasn't just the house door that closed, my heart did, too. A video message from Zhao Xinger lit up my phone. Nan, I really thought you'd turned over a new leaf. I've asked you out so many times, and you never came. In the video, Shen Nanfeng, holding Zhao Xinger in his arms, shot a glare at He Chen. Upon hearing this, Xinger is right here. Watch your mouth. When I saw Yunxia's body at night, her legs were swollen like a pig's. It was so disgusting I didn't even want to touch her. He Chen suddenly jumped to his feet, his voice filled with disbelief. That's so disgusting. Good thing it was just your wife. If it had been Xinger, Nan, you'd be heartbroken. The man's mocking laughter, Zhao Xinger's provocative gaze. I lay awake, staring into the darkness all night. Early the next morning, Shen Nanfeng returned, made breakfast in the kitchen, and went back to the bedroom to catch up on sleep. The moment he lay down, I caught the scent of Zhao Xinger's signature perfume. I squeezed my eyes shut. Just 2 more weeks. 3. Loneliness outside the delivery room. This is the final prenatal checkup. You can be admitted to the hospital now. Surely your husband will come to stay with you this time. The doctor couldn't understand how there could be such an irresponsible man. His wife was pregnant for 10 months, and he never came to a single checkup. I gave a faint smile and said goodbye to the doctor. The day before the due date, Shen Nanfeng was still nowhere to be found. The doctor, unable to stand it any longer, called him. The man's voice was impatient. Let her mother come. I'm tied up here and can't get away. Yunxia, stop being so dramatic, will you? You've managed the entire 10 months of pregnancy on your own, it's just giving birth, I'm not a doctor, is it really necessary? For me to be there, the doctor stared in disbelief, about to say something, but the call had already been disconnected. I felt utterly calm, even flashing the doctor a bright smile. I was almost free 5 hours before I went into labor. Photos of Shen Nanfeng celebrating Zhao Xinger's birthday flooded my social media feed. In the photo, the man gazes at the woman with deep affection in his eyes. The comment section erupts in playful teasing. Brother Nan and Xinger are such a perfect match, a handsome guy and a beautiful girl, a match made in heaven. Absolutely, Xinger has been Brother Nan's little shadow since they were kids, always declaring she'd marry no one but him. Have some decency, will you? Shen Nanfeng is a married man now. Think about Yunxia's feelings before you say things like that. That's not fair to say. If that incident hadn't happened back then, what would Yunxia even have to do with any of this? Everyone, just drop it. Sis-in-law can see this. The next second, the post was deleted from the social feed. I turned off my phone, feeling completely numb inside. Shen Nanfeng's friends all disliked me. They believed I had stolen Zhao Xinger's place, that I was the third party in their relationship. Yet the year I met Shen Nanfeng, it was he who held a ring, took my hand, and vowed to me that he loved me and would be good to me for a lifetime. I believe the sincerity back then was real. But sincerity is ever-changing. Yunxia, it's time to go to the delivery room. The doctor didn't even hold out hope that Shen Nanfeng would come to be with me. For 5 long hours, I was drenched in cold sweat. Yunxia, hang in there, the doctor called out to me, urging me to stay conscious. I managed a faint smile. The very next moment, a baby's cry filled the delivery room. I blacked out completely, missing my child's first glimpse of the world. When I woke up, my mother was holding my hand, her face etched with worry. I patted her hand reassuringly, and her tears instantly fell onto my skin. My mother had never approved of my marriage to Shen Nanfeng in the first place. Xiaxia, you're too young, their world is different from ours, you'll get hurt. But in my youthful naivety, I believed that love alone could conquer all. Auntie, we need to talk. I glanced up slightly, looking towards Mrs. Shen, who had clearly come prepared. My mother wiped away her tears and left the room. I'll get straight to the point. The child is born, let me go. As we agreed, Mrs. Shen wasn't surprised. She simply asked me, are you really content with this? Yunxia, you hold all the cards now. If you don't bring it up, Nanfeng won't divorce you. You have everything except his love. I looked at the face before me, always smiling, always so sure of itself. That was the exact same expression she wore when I first met Mrs. Shen. She invited me to a restaurant, and I braced myself for the classic rich mom offers me 20 million to leave her son drama. But she just chatted about everyday things and even slipped her family heirloom bracelet onto my wrist. Just then, Shen Nanfeng burst into the room. Time seemed to freeze in that moment. His eyes, bloodshot, were fixed unwaveringly on the bracelet. Yunxia, how dare you betray me? The warmth in his eyes was gone, replaced entirely by hatred. Panicking, I tried to yank the bracelet off, scraping my wrist until it bled, but it remained stubbornly fastened. I tried to call out an explanation, but Shen Nanfeng had already run off. I chased after him, only to hear his mother's voice from behind me. It's no use. Nanfeng despises me, he loathes everything connected to me. You must have noticed that during his counseling sessions, he is destined to be the heir of the Shen family. Love cannot become his weakness. Even if I don't love him, he must become my most perfect creation. I won't stop him from marrying you, but he cannot love you. Every memory is still as vivid as if it happened yesterday. I looked at her, my gaze unwavering. I've done what I promised, now let me go. Mrs. Shen stared at me for a long moment before finally agreeing. Shen Nanfeng, who had been missing for 3 days, showed up that evening. His demeanor suddenly became overly attentive. As he was tucking me in, I saw the marks on his body. A wave of nausea hit me, and I shoved him away violently. Shen Nanfeng was taken aback. Yunxia, what are you doing? But upon seeing my pale face, his tone suddenly softened. I was wrong to be late this time. It won't happen again. You must have had a hard time with the birth. I heard it was a difficult labor. Hearing him so casually refer to those 5 agonizing hours, which had felt like half a lifetime, I suddenly felt all the weight of the past 5 years lift from my shoulders. I met his gaze and spoke the words I had finally found the courage to say. For the decision to divorce, Shen Nanfeng, I want a divorce. I spoke calmly, and the man suddenly stood up, his eyes filled with disbelief. Then, his expression shifted to one of suspicion. So what if I wasn't there? You managed to Give birth just fine on your own. I promise I won't do it again. Alright, I'll chalk it up to you not thinking straight after childbirth. I forgive you, just don't say things like that to me again. Then, without so much as a backward glance, he strode briskly out of the room. On the day we left the postpartum care center, Shin Nanfeng, who was rarely seen, actually showed up and took me home. The man bustled about in the kitchen, and at the dinner table, he eagerly served food onto my plate. I pushed the dish away. You forgot, I don't eat eggplant. The man's hand froze. I set down my chopsticks and looked at him. I need to go back to the studio. Shin Nanfeng's lips pressed into a thin line. I don't agree. This is a notification, not a request. Shin Nanfeng, the man's hands slowly clenched into fists, his gaze stubborn. Yunxia, why must you go to work? Can't I support you? Can't I support our child? Does our Shin family lack your money? I cut him off, my voice as if coated in frost. Shin Nanfeng, you've forgotten our original purpose. The studio is called Nanxia. It was founded to help more people emerge from their inner shadows, just like Shin Nanfeng used to be. Yet, in just 3 short years, Shin Nanfeng has changed. If you truly loved me, you'd come home and start a family with me. I gave in. I loved Shin Nanfeng. Shin Nanfeng looked into my eyes, his gaze holding a restrained pain I couldn't decipher. All I knew was that he still opposed me opening my own studio. He couldn't accept a woman hustling and striving out in the world, just like his mother had. In the end, she still doesn't trust me. For the past 5 years, he has never truly trusted me, or my feelings. In that case, let's get a divorce. This was the second time I'd brought up divorce. Even if Shin Nanfeng didn't want to believe it, he had to face it. But what I didn't expect was that Shin Nanfeng went off the grid for another full month to avoid me. I sent the divorce papers to Shin Nanfeng and then turned off my phone. A month passed quickly, and with Shin Nanfeng still silent, I had no choice but to contact a lawyer to file for divorce. My phone rang. It was Shin Nanfeng, who had been missing for so long. Yunxia, it's not too late to change your mind. I'll pretend you never brought up the divorce. I took a sip of tea. Shin Nanfeng, can't you just be decisive for once? Don't be so wishy-washy. The man snapped instantly. Fine, Yunxia, don't you dare come begging me for custody later. It's not happening. After the divorce, you won't get to see the child at all. My heart suddenly clenched at the mention of the child. Even though I had long resolved to leave the child with the Shin family, a dull ache still lingered in my heart. From birth until now, I haven't even laid eyes on my child once. After all, this is the child I carried for 10 months and brought into the world against all odds. Then, the sound of pages being turned reached my ears. Suddenly, the rustling of pages stopped short. A man's voice, thick with disbelief, rang out. You don't want the child? I urged him to sign the divorce papers quickly, but the man turned a deaf ear, still reeling from the shock that I didn't want custody of the child. Yunxia, don't you dare regret this. I couldn't be bothered to listen to his nonsense any longer and hung up the phone. Not keeping the child was the best solution. Mrs. Shin values this child immensely. Even if Shin Nanfeng were to treat him poorly for Jiaoxing or Sake, he would have Mrs. Shin's full backing. Shin Nanfeng wouldn't be able to lay a finger on him. This child is the agreement between Mrs. Shin and me. A year ago, when I was on my way to the hospital to terminate the pregnancy, Mrs. Shin stopped me. She promised that if I carried the child to term, she would grant me any condition I asked for. You can use these 10 months to seriously reconsider your marriage to Nanfeng, even without love. By giving birth to the Shin family's new heir, our family will ensure you are well taken care of. But if you insist on the divorce, you won't be allowed to see the child. A child of the Shin family cannot have a weakness, even if you are his mother. The next day, the divorce papers arrived, and we went to file for divorce that same day. Shin Nanfeng wore a dark scowl the entire time. There's a 1-month cooling off period. If you still decide to divorce after that month, then come back to finalize the proceedings. Walking out of the Civil Affairs Bureau, I drove away. For the first time, I wasn't the one watching Shin Nanfeng's back as he left. I arrived at the studio. This past year, I was forced to stay home for my pregnancy, putting my career on hold. Now, I'm finally back. Jia. The girl looked up, her face lighting up with surprise. You're finally back. The girl was Yan Shuang, the student I had sponsored 3 years ago. After graduation, she came straight to work at my studio. I smiled at her and suggested we go grab a bite at a nearby restaurant. It was only then I learned that she had been coming to clean the studio every single week while it was shut down. That way, Sister Xiaxia can come back anytime she wants. The girl's eyes were shining. After 2 days of preparation, The studio was back in operation, and many of my old friends who used to work with me had returned on the 8th day. I saw my first patient since returning to work. His eyes were filled with ashes. Yet I heard the silent scream within just like the first moment I laid eyes on Shin Nanfeng. Shin Nanfeng was my first patient. The day I met him, a downpour left the sports field deserted. Raindrops fell from his hair to the ground. I watched for a long time, seeing him lap the track again and again. Finally, as he passed by me once more, I reached out and caught his hand. Hey, if you keep running like this, you're going to make yourself sick. In that one glance, I saw the despair and profound loneliness in Shin Nanfeng's eyes. Perhaps from the very moment we met, it was destined that we wouldn't have a happy ending. My thoughts returned to the present, and I looked at the boy before me. I began to tell him my story, slowly and in detail. The boy's eyes flickered, and he finally spoke his first words. Don't you hate him? I stared into his eyes. Hate isn't why we're here in this world. Love is. That love can be for others, but more importantly, it must be for yourself. I gave him a faint smile. Time's up for today. Come back next time. The boy left. His condition was far better than Shin Nanfeng's had been at the start. At least his heart was still crying out for help. He just needed a reason to keep going. But back then, Shin Nanfeng was cold and utterly hopeless. I spent so much time pulling him out of the mire bit by bit, watching the light slowly return to his eyes from the darkness. From indifference, it gradually filled with affection. In the end, it turned to hatred. Shashia, come on, everyone's going to eat together. I snapped out of it, gathered my things, and left with them. 5 male leads. Perspective. Yunxia brought up divorce with me. How could she? She loves me so much. How could she bear to leave me? So, in a fit of pique, I didn't contact her for a month. I wanted her to come to me herself, to yield and apologize. The moment I saw the divorce papers, my composure shattered. The house felt hollow and empty, every lingering trace of Yunxia a fresh sting to my heart. Then, Xinger called me again, crying and carrying on, saying she couldn't live without me. I turned off my phone and went to find Xinger, numbing myself to avoid thoughts of Yunxia. What is there to love about a woman who took my mother's money and deliberately got close to me? Seeing Xinger's tear-streaked face as she clung to me desperately, I felt needed. As Xinger's face slowly drew closer to mine, in a daze, I seemed to see Yunxia watching me with an icy, indifferent stare. I pushed Xinger away in one swift motion, for the first time not caring about her feelings. Xinger, you've crossed the line. I put on my coat and headed outside, Xinger's furious shout ringing out behind me. Crossed the line? What about that night last month? Why didn't you talk about crossing the line then? Shin Nanfeng, you've wronged me. Ignoring her attempts to stop me, I drove away quickly. On the night Yunxia gave birth last month, I was drunk. I mistook Xinger for Yunxia and made a terrible mistake. When I woke up, I didn't know how to face Yunxia, so I avoided going to the hospital. The car pulled up outside Yunxia's studio. Watching her work diligently inside, my thoughts drifted back to when we first got together. Yunxia was beautiful and captivating when she was focused, but after she started working, she poured her whole heart into her career and no longer paid constant attention to me like she used to. I couldn't handle that shift. I didn't want Yunxia to keep working, so I cut off the funding and shut down the studio. Yunxia didn't say a word and agreed to come home. After returning to the family, Xiaxia once again made everything revolve around me, which only reinforced my belief that I had made the right choice. And after Xinger came into the picture, that sense of vanity reached its peak. Every time she called, Xinger would cry and beg me not to leave, pleading with me to stay. She, who used to care so much about her image, would even become hysterical in front of everyone. It made me feel the authenticity of love, that she genuinely needed me, not that I needed her. So, even knowing Xinger's depression was fake, I didn't care. I did everything to avoid it. Yet I never expected Xiaxia would actually file for divorce. Is she really that desperate to leave me? Thank goodness there's a 1-month cooling off period. I'm definitely going to win Xiaxia back. 6. The truth is revealed. Brother Nan, stop drinking, will you? You've been hitting the bottle way too hard these past few days. He chin snatched the glass from Shin Nanfeng's hand. What's going on? Is it because you didn't go when your sister-in-law had the baby last time? Is she upset? That can't be it. That was ages ago. When has your sister-in-law ever stayed mad at you for this long? Everything was fine just now. Shin Nanfeng suddenly stood up, his eyes fixed straight ahead, and rushed out. Welcome back, Sister Xia. I raised my glass and downed it in one gulp. I'm going to the restroom. You all go ahead and eat. I stepped out of the private room, stood in the hallway for a moment to let the cool air clear my head, then walked to the front desk to settle the bill. Suddenly, I was yanked away by a powerful force. Yunxia, let's not get a divorce, okay? The man's eyes were bloodshot. I shook off his hand and walked forward with unwavering resolve. Shen Nanfeng stared fixedly at my retreating figure, his expression desolate. The next day, the entrance to the studio was littered with cigarette butts. Shen Nanfeng had waited there for me all night. I ignored him and walked into the studio. Xia, look, I brought you preserved flowers. They have no pollen, so you won't have an allergic reaction. His voice was hoarse, yet tinged with a thread of hope. The only response was the door shutting in his face. That boy came again today, and this time, he started opening up to me on his own. An unfaithful mother, an abusive father, a broken home, and a broken boy. Do you think I'm disgusting? Everyone at school avoids me. They say I'm unclean. That I'll get sick just like my mom, but I'm not. The boy couldn't hold back his tears any longer. That's a good sign. You're not disgusting. Your family background isn't your fault. Qin Lang, you need to get out of there. It was just after work, so I took him along to grab dinner. As soon as we stepped outside, Shen Nanfeng was still there. He was staring daggers at Qin Lang beside me. You're taking him to dinner. I stopped in my tracks. It's none of your business, ex-husband. Stay out of your ex-wife's affairs. Ignoring the man's expression, I left with Qin Lang, but I hadn't expected Shen Nanfeng to be so persistent. Following me all the way to the restaurant, I took a deep breath. Let's talk. The man's eyes suddenly lit up. We sat down facing each other. The man eagerly pulled out a chair for me. Xia, I know I was wrong. There's absolutely nothing going on between me and Zhao Xing'er. I swear. I looked into his eyes, and they were shifty. I suddenly let out a scornful laugh. Where were you the night I gave birth last month? Looking at the man's deathly pale face, I knew I was right. Next time, cover your tracks better, or you'll give yourself away too easily. Shen Nanfeng opened his mouth to argue further, but I cut him off directly. I began to list out, one by one, all the things he had said and done for Zhao Xing'er over the past 3 years. He could remember even a trivial detail like Zhao Xing'er not eating cilantro yet. After all these years, he only just found out that I'm allergic to pollen due to my pollen allergy. I've been to the hospital 108 times over the past 3 years. Even the doctors there recognize me on sight now, and every single time, it was because Zhao Xing'er wouldn't drink water, or Zhao Xing'er couldn't sleep. I was always the one left behind. Watching Shen Nanfeng's face grow increasingly pale, I paused for a second before continuing. Do you really not know that Zhao Xing'er is faking her illness? Of course he isn't. He's been through it himself. How could he not know what someone with real depression is like? He just enjoys watching me lose my mind over him, enjoys having his pick of admirers, enjoys the feeling of being needed. By the time I finished saying all this, my face was already streaked with tears. Shen Nanfeng raised a trembling hand, wanting to wipe my tears away. I turned my head to avoid him. I got up and left. 7-7, regaining freedom. I didn't see Shen Nanfeng again for the next 2 weeks. The studio gradually got back on track. Qin Lang's condition kept improving. Just as his name suggests, bright and clear. I was having a meal at the mall with Yan Shuang and Lin Shua, who was about to invest in our studio. Shen Nanfeng walked in with Zhao Xing'er. His gaze paused when he saw me, and he started walking toward our table. Xia, who is he? Shen Nanfeng's face showed hostility. I thought I had made myself perfectly clear half a month ago. Zhao Xing'er suddenly spoke in a sarcastic, sharp tone. Sister Yunxia, how could you do this? You haven't even officially divorced brother Nanfeng yet, and you're already here having a meal with your new flame. Passers-by also raised their hands to point and whisper about me. I looked up at her, a faint smile playing on my lips. We weren't even divorced, and you still slept with him. If you're so fond of picking up other people's cast-offs, you can have him. Enough. Zhao Xing'er raised her hand to hit me, but Shen Nanfeng stopped her. My companion and I walked away without a second glance, paying them no mind. A month passed, and I smoothly rejoined the ranks of the single. That evening, my friends threw me a party to celebrate my escape from that misery. Hey girl, I ordered 18 male models for you. Every single one is your type. That's what friends are for, right? My friend winked at me, and I could only nod helplessly. After it was over, I went home to find someone standing at my door, looking utterly dejected. Xia, you're finally back. Look, I brought the child to you. See for yourself. Doesn't he look just like you? The man kept rambling on, eager to continue. I cut him off. Shen Nanfeng, why must you be so difficult? If I remember correctly, we got divorced today. What's this little performance all about? As I spoke, my gaze involuntarily drifted toward the child. It had been so long, and I hadn't even seen them once. Seeing this, Shen Nanfeng's expression softened. He quickly placed the child in my arms, then turned and hurried away. By the time I gathered my wits, Shen Nanfeng was already gone. With no other choice, I had to take the child home with me. First, I contacted Shen's mother to ask her to come pick up the child. However, the villa's butler informed me that Shen's mother was away on a business trip and wouldn't be back for a week. No wonder Shen Nanfeng had the chance to bring the child out. Looking down at the child in my arms, a smile spread across my face without me even realizing it. He smiled back at me. The next day, Shen Nanfeng knocked on my door, his hands full of baby formula and diapers. He expertly changed the baby's diaper and fed him, and so it went for the entire week that followed. He was playing the part of a good father. On the 7th day, Shen's mother arrived right on time, slapped Shen Nanfeng across the face, and took the child away. I hope you'll honor our agreement, Auntie. Shen's mother glanced at me, then motioned for someone to take Shen Nanfeng away and put him under house arrest. Before leaving, Shen Nanfeng asked me, "Xia, do you really have no feelings for me anymore?" "Yes, if Zhao Xing'er weren't in the picture, would you still divorce me?" "I will." The man, looking utterly dejected, finally left. Later, I heard that Zhao Xing'er was sent abroad by her family, never to return. It was Shen Nanfeng's doing, after all, but none of that had anything to do with me anymore. I saw Shen Nanfeng again at my wedding, in the dressing room. Shen Nanfeng, whom I hadn't seen in ages, had lost his former luster. He looked a decade older, with hair that was already tinged with gray despite his youth. The man stared at me blankly. "You're still the same as ever, haven't changed a bit." I smiled but didn't accept the gift or the card he offered. "Take it. If he ever treats you poorly, this can help you. If he's not good to you, would you consider coming back to me?" Shen Nanfeng's voice grew softer and softer. I looked into his eyes and spoke. "He was very good to me. Besides, the only person who can help me is myself." After all these years, Shen Nanfeng still doesn't know the real reason why I was so determined to get a divorce back then. Zhao Xing'er was merely the spark. The real reason I wanted to escape was his desire to imprison my mind. I never saw him again after that. Life is long and full of inevitable ups and downs, but I will always have the courage to start anew. The end. 8. From the male lead's perspective, I ended up divorcing Yunxia after all. 2 weeks ago, I saw Yunxia having dinner with that man. I was furious. Rage instantly flooded my mind. I couldn't stand the thought of her out there, hustling, having meals and laughing with other men. So, I lost control for a moment. I confronted Xia and nearly hurt her in my anger. For a while after that, I was consumed with thoughts of how to mend things with Yunxia. At the same time, I started working on the Zhao family connections, preparing to send Zhao Xing'er away. I contacted a psychiatric hospital abroad, since she loves to put on an act. She can act to her heart's content. On the day of the divorce, I secretly took the child away. I believed Yunxia had feelings for him, and sure enough, her gaze kept drifting uncontrollably toward the child. 1 week. I only have this 1 week to make Xia change her mind. Every morning, I go to Xia's place, make her breakfast, change the baby's diaper, and feed them. At noon, I do the laundry and cook. In the evening, I leave only after I've rocked the baby to sleep. I'm trying my best to fulfill my role as a father, so Xia knows I'm genuinely making an effort to change. When I was leaving, I asked Xia if it was because of Zhao Xing'er. If Xia had said yes, I would have sent Zhao Xing'er away immediately. No matter how much Xia refused me, I would have persisted to the very end. But Xia said no. I felt something inside me crack, but I couldn't find where it was, nor could I mend it. I had Zhao Xing'er committed to a psychiatric hospital using forged medical records and made sure the news reached Xia, but she showed no reaction at all. She even got a new boyfriend. I dug into his past with a fine-tooth comb, thinking any hint of a shady history would give me a reason to drive him away from Xia, but there was nothing. He was too clean. Before I knew it, the day of Xia's wedding arrived. I went to find her in the dressing room, bringing the gift I had meticulously prepared and the foundation I intended to give her. Xia remains as beautiful and resilient as ever. She refused. It was me who had changed all along. I forgot that my Xia would never be the kind of person to lose herself over such trivial, worldly things. It was me who kept trying to change her. Xia, congratulations on your wedding. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe. We'll be bringing you new and exciting content